too familiar with pride. I've been on my knees 6 but gotten up 7 times. It was never even a question of is it gonna be mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. I've been watching the clock, 10,000 hours go by. I keep putting in work, the tears are filling my eyes. I swear I've never been tested like this, but this is mine. It's not a matter of chance, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something standing in my way, I always push back. If something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever.
The waters won't take me, the highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
The deepest waters won't take me, the highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
By the reins, I'm taking it to the sky. I'm never taking a break, I'm I'm only taking what's mine. You say it's taking too long, I'm taking that as a sign. It's not a matter of fate, just a matter of time. Never look back. If something's standing in my way, I always push back. When something seemed impossible, I never took that. Nah, cause now I know better. Can't stop, won't stop, I won't quit ever.
The deepest waters won't take me. The highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of
The
time.
deepest waters won't take me. The highest fall won't break me. The blood and sweat is what made me.
I'ma get mine, just a matter of time. I'ma get mine, just a matter of time.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
It's time at the World Center of Racing to crown champions. But before we do that, it's time to set off some fireworks with the IMSA Esports iRacing Open Challenge. Welcome along to iRacing Esports Network and to the IMSA TV channels, to the Daytona International Speedway for what's bound to be an exciting evening of racing. Arjuna Kankipati alongside with Peter Mackay as well as Lewis McLeod for all of the racing action. And Lewis, it's a short season, but it feels like just yesterday we were getting underway at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, of course, you know, when we had that, the season opener, it was back-to-back rounds, basically, of racing. Then we had a bit of a break. Obviously, the round at Sebring was extremely exciting. It's built up to quite the crescendo, quite the finale, but it's nice to start off with something slightly different in the evening.
Yeah, GT4 racing at Daytona for 20 minutes. Peter, you're joining us for the first time on the broadcast, but you know this is going to be a brawl.
Oh, it's always exciting on the high banks of Daytona. I mean, you look back to the Rolex 24 at the beginning of the year, the LMP2 class after 24 hours went down to a fraction of a second. So with 20 minutes, GT4 cars, it's going to be fast and furious.
And this is a race added to the support category, effectively, of the main championship series, where drivers were able to qualify by time attacks on iRacing. Open to the public, all you had to do was be as fast as you could, and we've taken the fastest 5 drivers, Lewis, in each of the 5 GT4 machines.
Yeah, and like I say, it's turned into quite an exciting entry list. An entry list full of drivers that we wouldn't be too shocked to see in the main series. That's the joy of this kind of thing. You know, it is open, so those drivers who aren't necessarily associated with some of those teams, maybe they can have their time in the spotlight, and it's what should be in for quite a thrilling race. Also, there's no championship up for these boys. They're just literally going at it and seeing what they can do.
Let's talk about the format. There you can see some of the cars as well. It's 20-minute race, GT4s, no fast repairs, and again, it was all about drivers' fastest lap in each of these cars. They could try each of them if they wanted to, all 5. A couple of them got into the top 10. In a couple of them, Will Chadwick, I think, was in the top 10 of all 5 of the time attack qualifiers, but you could only drive in one. And so now, as they get ready to go, Peter, you are here at Daytona for the 24. Talk to us a little bit more about this fantastic track.
There is nothing quite like the aura of Daytona International Speedway. For someone who's come from the countryside in Scotland, the sheer size of it is just breathtaking as well. The 24-hour race has been coming here for nearly 60 years now. It is just fantastic. It incorporates the oval, which is of course so famous for the Daytona 500, and then the relatively simple on paper road course corners, but they are nuanced, they are technical, and no driver has mastered this quite like the great Harley Haywood with 5 wins at the Daytona 24 hours. Who's going to come out on top tonight? Well, let's wait and see. I'm sure they've been putting lots of practice in to master this layout.
Here's a look at the BOP, because on top of what iRacing's done to balance the cars out, we can dial it in for these drivers, the way they build their open setups. And well, the Mercedes AMG as well as the McLaren 570S get a slight power hit and then weight added to a couple of them as well. But ultimately, it's all just a moot point. 20 minutes of racing. It's all about making it count when the opportunities present themselves, and that's what we're looking forward to. TFR Lab have done a great job over the course of the season and will continue to do so moving forward as well. Don't forget, iRacing.com/holiday sale, 50% off new signups, but it's these 25 drivers that take center stage for now. Will Chadwick, fastest of them all with a 151.431 alongside Alberto Senna, whose team manager is hoping for some success in that McLaren, Corentin Guinez, and then James Bomey on the second row of the starting lineup. Lucas Lindqvist and then Antoine Lacherit line up behind them, while 7th goes the way of Aaron Vasquez, Dennis Grabowski, Daniel Ferguson, and Timo Hayden, the rest of your top 10. It'll be Norbert Leitner down in 11th, Alexander Davidson alongside another one of the WSR Esport contingent, and then the Canadian Ian Gagnon Renaults alongside the Italian Simone Bassoni. Alvar Gomez for Team PGZ's got Justin Rem in the Hydra Race Geodesic colors for company on row 8 with Eric Grove, and then Cody D on the 9th row of the starting grid. And just keep going, you look at some of the strong names that we've got. Gael Valero, who's competed in the main series previously in touring cars, is alongside Charles-Etienne Boucher, Sacha Anglesi, Hugo Gonzalez, Jeremy Rouleau, and then David Tricoli through the front 24, and then Francis McGinn by himself at the back of the starting lineup. And like you said, Lewis, you look at some of these names and you wouldn't be surprised to see them in the main field on occasion.
No, exactly. I say, you know, Will Chadwick, we've seen plenty of good things from him in the recent past, and hopefully, you know, for him, he can keep out of trouble. I think that's the main aim of the game in this race. It is keeping it out of trouble. It's about, you know, going out there and having a little bit of fun. It's 20 minutes of pure chaos. I don't know what to expect from this race, Arjuna. I think it could be a smooth, cool, good race. It could also be an absolute crash fest. We don't know.
It's a pretty good sight that you'd have from that Ferris wheel, especially for the fireworks midway through the race, Peter. That does look to be one of the things that when you go to Daytona for the 24, you've got to find a good place to enjoy it.
There's so many great vantage points here at this circuit, and it's one where, of course, we have long nighttime running hours during the Rolex 24-hour at Daytona. That's what our drivers are going to be up against tonight. But at this particular circuit, it's so well lit, it's just like driving in the daytime.
Oh, here comes his fact. Here we go. Here comes his fact.
Just for Lewis McLeod. Peter, did you know that when we go racing here for the 24, we turn the lights to 20% of their maximum capacity?
Now that's a fact. That is. I did think they needed a few bulbs changed there, funnily enough.
It's fun the first time you hear it, honestly. After about 20 or 30 over the last 3 years, it's just uninteresting now.
You can say that all you want, Lewis, but the fact that Peter himself didn't know.
That's true.
I'm going to keep saying it. Anyway, prediction time. Up towards the front, it does look like McLarens, Porsches, you got the Aston Martins maybe in the mix as well, and then some of the Mercedes slightly further back. I don't know who you'd pick, Lewis.
Chadwick.
Chadwick?
Got to go with it. Got to go with it.
Peter?
I'm going to go with Chadwick as well, actually. I do recall when he won the Roar before the 24 here, and it was such an emotional moment for him personally in this very car, at this very circuit. I'm going with Lewis McLeod on this one.
And again, I mentioned he was in the top 10 of all of the 5 time attacks, and let's throw my hat into that ring as well. All 3 of us are calling Will Chadwick to win this one.
Perfect.
But it's as the pace car peels off and away, we're ready to go. Champions are going to be crowned later. 20 minutes to showcase what GT4 and iRacing is all about. It's Will Chadwick that gets the IMSA Esports Open Challenge underway at the World Center of Racing. And we're already 3 wide as we funnel off for the banking and down into the braking zone of turn 1. Chadwick is gone. Gunes has got the second, past Alberto Senau, but it's the challengers behind, the likes of the WSR Esports cars. You've got Aaron Vasquez and the Drago pink, grey and black car into the international horseshoe for the first time with ABS on their side. Lewis, a couple of cars going defensive.
Yeah, indeed. You can see them funneling their way through the international horseshoe. Aston Martin just squeezing out the number 71 as they depart up towards the fast kick. I do believe it's nice and tidy at the front. That's the important bit as they work their way through. Back defending coming into the section. There is a car off those, one of the McLarens.
It's a big slide, hopefully held on to that one as we go onto the brakes into the second hairpin. Another car around. It looked like one of the WSR Esports machines, but it's this crucial turn onto the banking where Peter, the momentum into the bus stop is all built. Vasquez goes deep in the McLaren and gets his way on past.
Yeah, critical run, as you say, down towards the Le Mans chicane, formerly known as the bus stop, where you really want to try and get a good draft from the car ahead. And already we're seeing a little bit of a breakaway with William Chadwick, Corentin Guinez and Alberto Senau in a kind of 3-car pack that have got away. So Aaron Vasquez, number 71 McLaren, he's leading the second pack. They need to quickly not let that first group get away.
Here they go into the chicane for the first time, slips their way on through single file. No one going aggressive, but there's the Rincon Racing number 46, already a second off of the race lead. A couple of swap around slightly further back as Grabowski drops to the back.
Yeah, one of the McLarens going round there, going through the bus stop. Not 100% sure as to how that's happened, but I can almost guarantee that was assisted. The bus stop is a really tricky part of this circuit. We'll be talking about how some of the drivers tend to underestimate this venue time and time again. Might have just been a little bit of side-by-side. So for Grabowski, for Davidson, there's already been some opening lap dramas. This is where we'll see a couple of moves later on in the race. Corentin Guinez closing back down on Will Chadwick.
The IMSA Esports Global Championship is up next if you're joining us for the Michelin 240. This is the IMSA Esports Open Challenge. A couple of fights further back behind. You don't want to necessarily lose the draft, and that's why you're seeing the single file. Top 3 right now. It's the 27 of Norbert Leitner, the Hungarian, that's got some moves in the background as they filter through the infield for the second time of asking. The PGZ Porsche is going to be hung out to dry on the outside. Peter, he's got to watch out.
Yeah, you do. You have, especially in these early stages of the race where it's so packed in, and these GT4 cars are so evenly matched too. They deliver their performance, and oh, it's the PGZ machine, the 2-on-4, get right in Alvaro Gomez, right into the back of somebody there going into the Western Horseshoe, but they get away with it just about. But it's about momentum here too, especially in these GT4 cars. They don't have a huge amount of aerodynamic performance, so you've got to try and carry as much corner speed as you can.
if you're wondering what the numbers on the timing tower are all about, that's about which car they're all representing. So the black ones are the Porsches, the orange numbers are the McLarens, and so on and so forth as you work through the rest of the field. It's into the chicane, though, where track limits are potentially a consideration. The drivers were informed that they are going to be monitored, and I wonder how careful they're going to have to be, because, Lewis, it is easy, very easy, to pick up a warning there.
Yeah, exactly. Track limits, particularly on the final part of it, the fourth of the curves which depart. I mean, that's easy to get a slowdown as well coming through. The first one you can chuck over quite a bit, but you've got to be a little bit careful with where you place your car going through the next portion of that bus stop. Either way, here comes a bit of a move as Will Chadwick might get passed here by Corentin Gunes. Do not count out Alberto Zaneo, who's sat behind, as Gunes is about to try and take the race lead into the first corner around the outside. It's not going to work for him.
Oh, as a 3 wide slightly further back. I think Senal's got up to second as a couple of cars are down on pit lane for violations in qualifying, and so they've bbeen bumped back for not following the letter of what race control told them in their event briefing. Still side by side for the wonderfully liveried Sim RC Team 75 livery that has straddled both the real and virtual worlds. The McLaren, the Rincon racing car, has gotten on through, and it's through the kink that Gunes tucks back underneath. Gunes, Peter, has just come off winning in the DNLS series in a touring car machine, which is where we know he's a specialist. It's pretty quick in a GT4 too.
Yeah, he's certainly making that transfer across, and they're very different cars, of course. Front-wheel drive for the touring car, rear-wheel drive for the GT4 machine, and yeah, great to see Corentin driving up there. He is one of the very best in the world on iRacing in a touring car, but doing a good job. And yeah, certainly doing team boss Timo Bernhard a good service here. Of course, Timo, the owner of Team 75, and won the race overall in a GT car 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy to think as well. Rich, coming off Rennsport reunion, it's been such a crazy ride for 75 years of Porsche, and especially in their motorsports history. Looking off the back of your race leader, Will Chadwick, we knew draft was going to be a factor, but you can see just how long that train extends behind them. Not really a breakaway at this point in time. The question always is, do you want to lead coming to the final lap of the race, especially coming out of Le Mans chicane, Lewis?
Yeah, I mean, look, you can see 7 of them really is behind Ferguson back to Norbert Leitner. That's where the bigger gap is showing. For the rest of them, at the moment, with how the slip is working, I actually do want to lead on the final lap. I do want to lead going out of the Le Mans chicane, because it doesn't seem as though the pass is actually initiated until you've got after the start-finish line and the run down into the first corner. So right now, yeah, I do want to be leading. A little bit of a look down the inside from Aaron Vasquez as he's trying to get through. But the Porsche and McLaren are looking quite good, but let's not rule out the Aston Martins and the BMWs. Obviously, the green on the timesheet is the Aston Martins, the blue is the BMWs, and they are most certainly closing their way back into this fight.
Apparently there are some Wigan supporters in the IMSA TV chat. I mean, yeah, really random, but they're cheering on Will Chadwick. Let us know who you're supporting here. I see some Rincon Racing fans in the iRacing Esports Network chat. It's back out of that second hairpin that they'll go. 20-minute race doesn't mean you get many opportunities, Peter, to figure out where your competitors are strong. And with open setups as well, you do have the ability to maybe dial down a little bit that rear wing and have a bit more speed in a straight line.
Yeah, that setup is really, really important here at Daytona, and that compromise between them to be able to absolutely maximise the performance as moves going on further back. I'm actually surprised to see the McLaren and the Porsche up to the front as, whoa, big wreck there between one of the Astons and the Mercedes, and it causes a, big old trigger effect. We see that when we run on the oval here at Daytona, but not so much used to that on the road races.
That was a bit of a more NASCAR-style blowover there, which you can enjoy if you are an oval racing fan, especially heading off into not just the Daytona 24 next year here on iRacing, but the iRacing Daytona 500, part of the newly released 2024 iRacing special event calendar. We're on board with Aaron Vasquez in those Drago Racing colors, and one driver that, Lewis, you and I would have maybe expected to have seen in the main series. He was registered as part of the Altus Esports team, never ended up racing for them. He's made the switch over to Drago and competes here today. Challenge for the lead though, Lewis. Chadwick sees Senal trying to go the long way around.
Yeah, it's not going to work out though for the 46, and now will stay behind Chadwick, but he's starting to feel the pressure. We're not quite halfway through this race. The attack going into the International Horseshoe is also going to come and might open the door for Corentin Gunes to work his way back past. Just a bit of an overlap from the McLaren on Chadwick's Porsche. Not going to work out on this occasion. again. You're absolutely right with Aaron Vasquez. He's been such a quality talent in the world of sim racing, having moved over to Drago Racing within literally the last couple of months. It was whilst the season was on. Whilst he was midway through a British Formula 4 Esports Championship campaign and that as well, we know he's a quality talent. And do you know what? This would be a really solid opener to his Drago Racing career. No, it's not the first race he's done for them, but it's in that first couple of month period to start off with a win like this. Be quite a crucial one, I think.
And it sets off, of course, the GTP and GTD entries in the main IMSA Esports Global Championship to potentially have a pretty good run as well. This is a great shot of just how much banking there truly is. Peter, did you ever take the opportunity to go and try and stand up at the top of the banking?
I have done at the start-finish line, and it is remarkably steep. I can confirm you that, that's for sure. As Corentin Guinez going to make a move at the Le Mans chicane, gets it done very neat and tidy there, using the good braking performance of the Porsche 718 Cayman. But the McLaren there of Sanau is going to try and get it back again, and Will Chadwick will be looking in his mirror saying, yes, you guys keep doing that and I shall escape.
And you're seeing what Lewis was kind of talking about in that the run out of that chicane is not really getting you close enough to the line to really present a challenge. It's into the opening corner where that momentum brings you. Senau's going to, I think, have, well, at least according to the timing, a nose in front. It was marginal at best at the line. But back down off the banking and into the opening corner. There comes the look from Guinez. Chadwick slams the door shut.
Chadwick was having absolutely none of that. Like you say, slammed it right over his fellow Porsche, don't really not teammates, fellow Porsche anyway, said, no, not a chance, not on your life are you going to look down the inside there. Aston Martin in the background, that's Lundqvist trying to get past James Buemi. That one's not going to work out though. Aston Martin did not get a good drive off onto the run through the fast kink. Oh, Vasquez and Sanau both out.
Yes, that looks like a technical issue for the both of them at identical moments. Hopefully they blink back into existence, but in real motorsport you get engine blowouts, transmission failures. In the world of sim racing, sometimes you get internet issues and things like that.
Oh dear, that's not what we like to see. We're hearing from race control that it's actually down to not serving penalties. So they've effectively been lifted out of the session, Arjuna. Amazing.
So they would have been some of the drivers that dipped below those yellow lines, which they were instructed not to do so by race control, and then decided not to serve the penalty. I think that is going to now mean that it's Porsche 1, 2, and 3, but it's Lucas Lindqvist, it's Ian Gagnon Renault, and those behind Peter that now find themselves with an opportunity.
They do, and this is an amazing opportunity for James Buemi. The progression of his career of the last 12 to 18 months is incredible. He was in the Pro-Am class of the World GT Championship. He won that and then went straight into the Pro class and won that as well. His progression is off the scale, and to be up here fighting in the top 3 in this company is amazing, as Guinez making a move for the lead.
And so the fact that there's now no one behind means these two have a bit more room to fight the long way around, but with draft and momentum on his side. But back off the banking, the car unloads, and it's deep under the brakes once more. Chadwick leaves room. That Team 75 car wanted none of it just yet and flashes the lights. Maybe a bit of frustration.
I think it's more just like a bit of, can you get out of my way at any point, please? Whilst we're in a battle, I prefer you make a mistake here, Chadders, and go straight down an escape road. I will say the one person who probably wouldn't have wanted to see those two get disqualified from the race is actually probably Will Chadwick, and the reason why is because they were all kind of fighting amongst themselves going into Crazy Town. It was just giving him a little bit extra breathing room. Then when it becomes 1v1, it's actually suddenly a lot more easy to fight. Corentin Guinez is definitely showing that one. We're looking a little bit further down the order. This is to the 96 of Timo Hayden behind his Pulse teammate. Now these two, whilst not in the same car, they can absolutely work together here to try and progress their way up the order, even though it's a bit of a one-off a fun race, but still, you never know.
And the benefit of having two cars and two different manufacturers, you have a sense for what both of those cars will do in terms of racing, and you can do test races and all those fun things to figure things out. More than half the clock burned though, and we are closing in on the start of Michelin 240, the final round of the IMSA Esports Global Championship. But Will Chadwick, Corentin Guinez is going to take center stage at the front of the field, and back underneath, here comes that Spider-Man liveried car. Chadwick holds on for now, but Peter, the field's coming, and they're coming fast.
And Guinez is really strong there going into the Le Mans chicane. Didn't quite go for the move there, but we've seen him make moves stick. in the braking zone for that corner, and Guinness really putting Chadwick under pressure. The ride with James Boumé, the man from Kent in England, and he's actually going to start picking up a little slither of draft then from the pair ahead, who are already side by side as they come into the tri-oval.
Here we go. It's the overspeed that you just watch. It stalls out as they almost do some NASCAR-style side drafting between the two of them. Still Chadwick in that all-black machine on the inside. Gives a bit more room to the fellow Porsche alongside. And now it's on the run into the International Horseshoe that Gunes has the inside. Will James Boumé decide to follow?
Oh, I'm not sure he will. Out wide goes Corentin Gunes, and that would be Will Chadwick dropping down out of the race lead properly for the first time. I will say, though, the last couple of laps, Corentin Gunes has been ahead at the line, which has been the more... We've not seen that from anyone else thus far, so clearly he's hooking up the final part of the Le Mans chicane quite nicely, and is sending it down to the start-finish line. Let's see if Will Chadwick can maybe do the same. 6 minutes left to go in this race, with the running, 1 minute 52. We've got 3-4 laps left to go. This is, we've got quite a fight on before including this one.
Well, absolutely. I think this is what we were kind of expecting, and you can get in on this fun. That's the glory of iRacing. The time attack was open to anyone with an iRacing account, and all you had to do was log some laps, which they did from the NASCAR headquarters as well. I won't say where they were on the time board. Interesting to see that Corentin Gunes faded up on the banking, flashes the lights, and as Chadwick slips back on through, it's now 5 at the front, Peter.
Really interesting there how you've got two drivers who want to win this more than anything and do not want to lose, and yet they're almost working together there. Chadwick was clear of Guinness, and Guinness gave him a little flash like a truck would on the highway, saying, yeah, go on, you just tuck in there and then I'll get right up behind you and pick up the slipstream, and we can potentially pull away from these other guys who are snarling up behind us. So really fascinating now as they go side by side yet again. I feel like I'm a broken record.
This is all the I think everyone in the commentary booth got scared that we were about to see a blue and red car in the grass, but that's how close these drivers can run. Big send around the outside in the Aston Martin by Lucas Lindqvist for the WSR Esports team, but it is all Porsche for the most part, one Aston Martin in the mix.
Yeah, and you got to remember, like, all 5 of the Porsches are running inside the top 6 at the moment, as Lundqvist is going to complete the move, gets himself onto the podium. And the thing is that, like, the way that Aston Martin's going to get up to its speed, it's going to be slightly differently. Like, maybe he can use something on that car to an advantage over the next few laps, try and maybe work his way up into the race lead. The one thing that he doesn't want is James Boumé to go on the attack of him, because that's what's going to cause the problems. That's what's going to stop them with any chance of going after this victory, and it would make it a 2-horse race. Right now, there is the potential of this being, 5, maybe even, to be fair, 6 or 7 cars coming down to the wire.
And so back onto the banking they go. It's always interesting watching the lines that they take. They're willing to run a little bit higher just to get the momentum. Chadwick out of the draft. Let's take a look at, well, some things that have happened over the course of the previous race. This is between teammates. Rule number 1, don't hit your teammate. The Aston Martin lets the BMW through, and then Alvar Gomez behind shows the nose, and the pressure just sees the one impulse car off into the grass, and then the impulse BMW spins itself around, Peter.
That's not one for the company gifted calendars for next year. Not their finest hour, it must be said, at the Horseshoe there. And interestingly now, where Chadwick's now playing the mind games, he's actually stepping out of the slipstream of Guinness as to not effectively make himself vulnerable by going by and then be redrafted. He's just trying to size up, I think, what he can do as we go. Be 2 laps to go now that we go over the stripe. I think these Porsches, because of their naturally aspirated motor and top gear, they're really drafting well at the top of top gear, whereas the Aston, it's making its power down low, it's turbocharged, it's punching out the corner better than the normally aspirated Porsche.
And this is where you get these unique characteristics of all the different cars. It's what makes sports car racing so intriguing. And we're not even talking about different layouts necessarily in these cars like you might with Porsches in other categories. That's the Altitude Esports car of James Boumé just trying to lean a little bit on Ian Gagnon Renault. Teammates able to draft with one another here. The Aston feeds the draft to the Porsche, but with these cars you don't necessarily get that much speed, and so still that silver Porsche has an opportunity. mental warfare all over the shop right now, Lewis, because the lights are flashing not just from second, but from first as well.
Corentin Gunes is essentially flashing Will Chadwick from ahead of him, because obviously you can see what's happening. Watch Will Chadwick here. Now, on the previous lap in NASCAR 1 and 2, he went up high and did not follow Corentin Gunes down low. This time he is going to follow. That was because he didn't want to make a move going into the Le Mans chicane. This time, though, I think Chadwick wants to go for it. It'll be the penultimate lap of the race. We've got one more after this. I think Will Chadwick wants that race lead back ASAP. Flashing of the lights, looking down the inside. That's probably telling him I'm not going for it. And it is telling, oh, I was right on that one. Oh, I didn't think I was for a second.
I mean, a broken clock is right twice a day, you right?
Shut it.
Anyway, we'll see if our predictions are going to be right, because we all put our name into the same hat, and so Will Chadwick better pull it out. Fellow commentator, of course, as well, Will Chadwick. So he's trying to prove that we can drive. We can't just talk about things. But Peter, come on, are you going to change your pick here as we come onto the final lap?
No, I don't think so, actually. I think Will Chadwick looking really strong. He knows this car so well. He actually won a 12-hour race at Snetterton for charity solo, drove the whole thing in this car, and he loves an Ironman stint. This 20-minute sprint's a little bit different, though, for Will, but he's done so many miles in this car. He knows it inside out. White flag. Can he get the better of Corentin Gunes? You couldn't really find a tougher adversary than the rapid Frenchman.
Let's do it. That's deep into the international horseshoe, though. Chadwick gets it slowed down just in the nick of time. They're fighting hammer and tongs further back, by the way, but it doesn't really matter. What a treat we've been seeing at the front in terms of the respect, the racecraft being shown, and looking rearwards from the race leader once more into the second hairpin. They go, Lewis.
Yeah, this is where, again, that tactical move. Are you making the move into the Le Mans chicane, or are you making the move on the other side of it? How do you want to play your way through it? Linus Lundqvist, to be fair, Ian Gallon, Renault, they're not out of it. They are absolutely not out of it, because if there's any issues between these two, they will bring their way back into the mix. They head back up onto NASCAR 1 and 2, and what does Will Chadwick do? Does he follow straight in behind Corentin Gunes? I don't know if he wants to make a move straight away. That's the thing. Already trying to break the slipstream as we head out. Just a few more corners left to go, Arjuna. This is where things are going to get very exciting indeed.
It's one more run through the newly renamed Le Mans chicane. Can it be Chadwick to the inside, and will it be side-by-side under braking, or will one back out of it? The Team 75 car decides to try and tuck back into line, but Chadwick plays the mind games, forces side-by-side, and now leads out of the chicane, Peter.
Nobody wanted to go into that corner first. They were on and off the brakes there, both cars. I've never seen anything quite like it here at this final chicane here at Daytona. And look how it's brought in so many other cars into the battle.
Who's going to win? I mean, that Team PGZ Porsche's closing as well. Gunes is trying to look down low, but he's been shoved off and into the wall. It's going to be the drag race, and get the photo cameras out. Corentin Gunes, I think, by the narrowest, Will Chadwick, excuse me, by the narrowest margin comes out on top. But the contact with Corentin Gunes will surely be looked at, and the margin of victory might see someone else come out on top, Lewis.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I think Corentin Gunes, it's whether he went below the double yellow line to drag himself alongside. That's the important bit. For Will Chadwick coming across the line as the victor there. I mean, impressive stuff. It was a difficult end to the race, but I think he instigated the hip check.
And so that's what Race Control might take a look at. We'll take a quick look at the results, and then there's no time to wait. It's time to crown some champions here at the World Center of Racing. Quick look at the replay of what happened on that run to the line, Peter, as we see the perspective of what happened to Gunes.
It all happened really quickly, so yeah, it does. I mean, it's such a quick look at it there. It did seem that Chadwick shut down the run that Gunes had quickly, and that was what instigated the contact. But Race Control will look at that at several angles from both cars, look at throttle inputs, steering inputs, that kind of thing. We don't have that to the tip of our fingers right now, but wow, certainly dramatic end to the race.
And 8 thousandths between Will Chadwick and Lucas Lindqvist for WSR Esports. A bit of a breakout for them, with Ian Gagnon Renault also in third. Alvar Gomez, James Bomey, Eric Grove, Simone Passotti, Norbert Leitner, Justin Rem, and then Timo Hayden through your top 10. And as we keep going, find some of those Mercedes: Hugo Gonzalez, Jeremy Rouleau, Daniel Ferguson, team principal at WSR Esports, down in 13th, with Sasha Onglesi, Francis McGinn, Antoine Lacherie, and then Corentin Gunes, unfortunately down in 17th. But in front of Davide Tricoli, Alberto Senau, and Aaron Vasquez, unfortunately not serving their penalties, getting disqualified. Gal Valero, Charles-Etienne Boucher, Cody Deeth, Dennis Grabowski, and Alexander Davison being mixed up in various little bits. But the World Center of Racing still has one more story to tell. It's the story of the champions of the 2023 IMSA Esports Global Championship. Don't go anywhere. That's coming up next.
At Michelin, we don't just race for medals. We race to test, to learn, to find answers, to discover innovative ways. We race to take on challenges, to overcome technology limits, to improve the way we all move, to make possible what is not. No, at Michelin, we do not race just for glory. We race for change.
For the first time, IMSA is celebrating more than 50 years of unforgettable performances and personalities with the brand new IMSA Hall of Fame. But this one is a little different from the others. The IMSA Hall of Fame includes not only pioneers and competitors who have outperformed head and shoulders above their competition, but also amazing sports cars that have delivered so much excitement and created indelible memories for IMSA race fans all over the world. The list includes IMSA co-founders John and Peggy Bishop, who led the organisation from its inception in 1969 through 1989, and IMSA's first golden era. Alongside John and Peggy, their business partner and IMSA co-founder Bill France Sr. Big Bill utilised a business model based on the success of NASCAR, which he also founded, setting a course for the success that IMSA enjoys to this very day. Of course, no Sports Hall of Fame would be complete without including those athletes with the greatest accomplishments on the field of competition, and the inaugural IMSA Hall of Fame class is no exception. It includes Peter Gregg, one of IMSA's first stars and the most successful GT driver of the 1970s. Hurley Haywood, the winningest overall major endurance driver of all time, with 5 Rolex 24 at Daytona, 3 24 Hours of Le Mans, and 2 12 Hours of Sebring overall victories. Al Holben, who had a record 49 overall IMSA race victories and 7 IMSA championships, as well as wins at Daytona, Sebring, and Le Mans. Scott Pruitt, the 9-time IMSA champion with 10 Rolex 24 class victories, including 5 overall wins amongst his 60 total victories in IMSA competition. Among the race cars being inducted into the inaugural IMSA Hall of Fame class is the Corvette C5R, which claimed 31 victories, 50 podium finishes, and 24 pole positions from 1999 through 2004, with wins at Daytona, Sebring, and Le Mans. The Ferrari 333 SP, with 56 victories and 69 pole positions from 1994 through 2003. The Mazda RX-7 GTU, which won its class on debut at Daytona in 1979 and won IMSA championships every year from 1980 through 1987. And the Porsche 962, which made its IMSA debut at Daytona in 1984 and qualified on the pole position in the hands of the legend Mario Andretti. It went on to win the Daytona 24 Hours 5 times, alongside 3 victories in the 24 Hours of Le Mans and the IMSA Championship every year from 1985 through 87.
On the track, yeah, this race can be a close one.
That's for the lead!
Off the track, things get even closer. Join the celebration of North America's most prestigious sports car race and get closer to the action all weekend long with free garage access, plus non-stop entertainment, autograph sessions, and more. It's the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and it doesn't get any closer than this. Secure your infield admission today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
You know as a driver when it's time to go.
It's going to be chaotic, a lot of cars, a lot of traffic.
It's been a gunfight every single weekend of you don't know who to watch.
Esports Global Championship comes to an end. Welcome to the World Center of Racing, to the Daytona International Speedway for the Michelin 240. Delighted to have your company here on the iRacing Esports Network on IMSA TV for all of the action. Our Junior Kanky Party, Lewis McLeod, Peter Mackay here for all of it. And Lewis, we've already seen one great race. It's time to crown our champions though.
Yep, certainly so. A lot in contention for it, especially in the GTP category. It is stacked to be an incredible evening of racing. And honestly, I've got no idea who's going to come out on top, and that's why it's so exciting.
Yeah, it is a championship showdown that is for the ages in the GTP class. Still going to be quite good in the GTD if it's only whittled down to 2. But Peter, what a schedule that we've had as well. We started at Road Atlanta 41 days ago. 41 days to crown our champions.
And in those 41 days, you've really visited the 4 iconic endurance racing venues in the United States of America. Road Atlanta, Watkins Glen, Sebring, and here at Daytona. When you look at endurance racing drivers, when they look back on their career, it's all about how many times have you won at these 4 circuits in the United States.
And of course, moving into next year, we're adding the Brickyard, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, to these iconic tracks as well. That's going to be fun. But already seen one great race, as we alluded to. Let's see some of the highlights of the IMSA Esports Open Challenge in the GT4 class, where, of course, 25 machines went head-to-head. It was Will Chadwick that got us underway as we rolled ourselves in towards the opening corner. A bit of a breakaway at the front, and then some chaos behind. There's just 2 wide, 3 wide. You saw a little bit of everything. It was really, really good fun. Big dramas for some as one of the WSI Esports cars got spun around. Everyone else getting through relatively safely until Dennis Grabowski span himself around in the Altitude Esport car. But 3 wide was somewhat normal. We were hoping for the 4 wide. It wasn't to come, especially with some of the cars getting damaged, as did the likes of Cody Deeth. Big drama there with Antoine Lacharit and Gaio Valero getting mixed up as well. 5 cars at the end really were mixed up towards the front. Corin Tengunas was putting the most pressure on Will Chadwick's black machine in the Team 75 burdened by SimRC car. And while Impulse kind of unfortunately self-imploded slightly further behind, it was onto the white flag. Plenty of action we were going to see. But it was here on the run out of NASCAR Turn 4 that things got intriguing. Here first in towards the Le Mans chicane, it was played very, very well. Let's go ahead, though, and take a look at the onboard lap at what these drivers have got to deal with here at the Daytona International Speedway.
Hey, everyone. Tommy Milner again, driver for Corvette Racing and co-owner of private label Team Hype. We're here for the final round of the IMSA Esports Global Championship, and I'll take you for a quick lap around Daytona International Speedway. Alright guys, here we come to start finished at Daytona International Speedway. About the highest top speed these cars will see all year long in the US. About 200 miles an hour, braking for turn 1. Into the infield section here. A lot of decreasing radius corners on exit. Trying to do a lot of combined lateral and longitudinal loads. Into turn 3. Pretty low grip surface overall in the infield here. Fighting some understeer mid-corner, fighting power down. Come to the kink now. This is where it gets a little tricky sometimes with GT traffic. It's sometimes good on the inside here into 5, sometimes have to go around the outside. Again, same thing, decreasing radius, trying to put power down, squeeze the power on. Coming to turn 6 to leave the infield. Super important corner to get a good drive off here. Leads all the way down the back straightaway to the Le Mans chicane, as it's called now. Used to be the bus stop chicane. Super important to stay in the draft with the cars you're racing here. And if you're out front, trying to break that draft somehow. So here we come to the Le Mans chicane. Super fast. Down 2 gears. 1 more in the middle. Back on power as soon as you can. Got to be careful of the off tracks through there. Onto the back straightaway, through NASCAR 3 and 4, heading to start finish. Trying to stay in that draft as best you can. Pretty easy, obviously, through traffic here. Go 3 wide if you have to. Coming to start finish, and that is 1 lap at Daytona.
And what a lap it is at the Daytona International Speedway. Thanks to Tommy for once again providing us the onboard look. His private label Team Hype machines will be running out on track in that Cadillac. It's going to be quite fun to see how they all get on. Whew. calm yourselves, get ready to go. The point situation very tight in the GTD class, where it's between the Mercedes AMG Apex Racing team and Team Redline. In the GTP class, it is anyone's game, and that's why for Williams Esports to get pole position, 35 points in their direction. And look at Casey Kerwin. What a surprise to see him nailing it in qualifying. He'll line up on the outside of the front row with Peter Zuba and then Michael Romanidis sharing the second row. And then Arturo Melgar in that Drago 69 alongside Eduardo Leo, who's been rapid in qualifying, but the Cadillac can only fly to 6th for him. Hamilton in 7th, Collins in 8th, with Peter Berryman and Diogo Pinto sharing the 5th row of the starting formation. Pedro Sanchez Albert and then Alex Ellis behind them in the BMW M Team BS competition and satellite racing cars. Sam Michaels, well, Michaels' families have had a lot of trials and tribulations the last week. We'll talk about that in a few moments' time. He's alongside Austin Young, Ilka Happela, Danny Lorenzo, Adam Blocker, Sergio Gurdel through your front 9 on the starting formation, and then Pablo Espez alongside Matt Busa for the Rise Esports team, who make their invitational wildcard entry into today's race at Daytona. And then you have Daniel Kraft, late replacement for them, sees them start at the very back of the starting formation. That's just the GTPs for this Michelin 240. In the GTD class, it's Porsche domination. Damon Woods, Dino Lombardi, both of the 992 generation cars on the front row, with Tim Matska in the Lamborghini, Josh Thompson in the Ferrari for the Redline crew, but not the Redline car that is in the championship mix. BS Turner represented by Reina Talvar alongside Simufy and Tristan Iglesias, who qualifies well once again. He'll be hoping just to survive the start, to be fair. Oscari Reno for Marlers alongside Goban Kini for the Grid and Go Lamborghini. And then Gianni Vecchio, involved in the championship hunt, is on the edge of the top 10 alongside Simona Maria Marcheno, Manuel Troncoso for Drago, Gregory Hoverson for Delta Sport behind them. Salva Talent in the BMW for the Apex Racing team. Brabham Esports find themselves on the outside of row 7 with Hunter McDaniel, and then Ross McFarlane, Daniel Lafuente, one of the better qualifying efforts in the Mercedes, who seem to have some work to do. Antiohola, Danny Pastor behind them, 17th and 18th positions, with Sven Haase, Oscar Pai, Luke McEwen in that Mercedes AMG Apex Racing Championship contending car. Impulse and Balazs Pala, Nicholas Laubish, David Toth, that's the 23rd and 24th starting cars. And then last but not least, Luca Kita. Again, it is the Mercedes that seem to have some work to do, and that's why, Lewis, when we take a look at the TFR Lab BOP, look at all the adjustments that have been made to dial it in for these teams, the drivers, and the way they set up the cars.
Yeah, arguably it's the trickiest track to set up for BOP. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes to try and get it as close as possible. Some teams will feel like they're in the worst position possible for it, but it is what it is, heading into a season finale that should be fairly exciting. And let's be honest, even if you're a bit low on power, you can use the slipstream to work your way through the order.
2 hours and 40 minutes may not sound like a lot, but Peter, around Daytona, a lot's going to happen in those 2 hours and 40 minutes.
You bet it is. It's the standard IMSA race length for a normal sprint race. Of course, we go for 24 hours here, normally Daytona, although there used to be a season closing event here known as the Paul Frere. There's a lot that can go on in these 2 hours and 40 minutes. And this GTP battle is wide open. The points are so close between the top 7 or 8 cars.
Well, Lewis, I think you've got some quick time to talk about your Michelin keys to the race.
Yeah, certainly so. Of course, the avoid it, the send it mentality is so easy to do around here. Obviously not to underestimate the circuit, and the championship is at stake. We haven't seen the points. I'd love to have seen them, but alas, we know it is extremely close at the top. Do not take your eye off the main prize.
Don't blink, the Michelin 240 is underway as Williams Esports get this one going. The Daytona International Speedway sees the IMSA Esports Global Championship get ready to come to an end. It's a tidy start as off the banking, the cars on load. Porsche Coanders, number 92, settling into line in 3rd. Ideal start for Michael Romanidis as into the International Horseshoe. Love to see all 21 of these GTPs getting through unperturbed. Going to see the hybrid spool up, still cold tires, let's not forget, it's where the drivers really have to make their mark. It's the GTDs, though, where there's a bit of consternation on the start, and I get the sense that Door Esports held them for a while, and now is going to get a great jump down off the banking and into turn number 1. Altus filtering in behind them, but it's the big green machine, the Maniti Lamborghini, Lewis, trying to go the long way around.
Yeah, look at Team Redline, Josh Thompson working his way past as well at the bottom of your screen, so it's Team Redline then up into 3rd position, dragging the Ferrari 296. Top of your screen, though, is where things are getting close in the GTP category between the Race Clutch and the Coanda.
Oh, there seems to be some drama. Altus, grid and go, and where's Redline and Apex in all of this? Because those, of course, are the cars mixed up in the championship. Already the 101, Luke McEwen, is up into 16th position. Peter, the 170, the Redline car piloted by Gianni Vecchio, still holding strong in 8th position.
Yeah, it's really, really tight, and I think those qualifying positions, where of course there are points paid out for those qualifying positions, could prove absolutely critical in the outcome of this championship, particularly in GTP. Williams Esports, just with that qualifying, they've now moved into the lead of the championship.
Got Exet though right on the back of them as they come to the end of the opening lap. 4 cars split by, well, just 0.7 of a second. It's Williams from Exet, from Coanda, and then Altus. Some chopping and changing behind as the likes of BMW M Team Redline are trying to work their way on forward, and Drago into the wall hard. Oh goodness, that was hellacious, and the new damage model shows just how big the speed is there through the corner in these GTP machines, Lewis.
Yeah, they're definitely out. They're done, out of here. Big shame for them to have basically ended things so early in the proceedings, and like you say, it's a difficult circuit. BMW M Team Redline, the 71, have been involved in that, and I believe they are out as well.
That's 2 races in a row that BMW M Team Redline. At Sebring, they didn't get to the start. Here, they barely get to the end of lap number 1. Drago's on the inside. Oh, they come together, and then as they rebound off the track, I wonder who else got mixed up in that, because no one got through scot-free surely there, Peter.
Oh, that's a huge accident, and you have to think that you've got to give a little bit of space, particularly at this early point of the race. The Drago car does seem to crowd the Redline machine out there, but as the points stand, as we see, Williams, they move into the lead ahead of the 43 crew, and that's the Altus car. So all of a sudden, BMW M Team Redline, for being at the front, they're out of it.
Wow. 92 points the difference between the 11 and the 43. But Lewis, remember how things went at Sebring? Urano at one point seemingly were going quite well, and then suddenly they weren't. There's no guarantee of victory here, that's for sure. Williams Esports need to stay out of trouble.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, when you're going around the outside of turn 1, or you're at least trying to hang there, you kind of got to expect the car on the inside is probably going to try and squeeze you. We've seen that time and time again, whether it is in sports car racing, whether it's in Formula 1. I'm sure there's a member of that team that's very well aware as to pushing someone off the circuit on the exit of a corner. And like you say, seeing something like that there, it is now the time to have taken that risk. 3 minutes or 2 laps into a race like this, when you're in it for the championship, I'd have rather settled for position and played the long game.
2 hours and 40 minutes. Can you really play the long game, though? I was having this argument, debate, depending on how you want to put, with some other commentators of different opinion. There's the GTD points. It is the 170 that has the advantage. The Apex Racing 101 is down in 15th spot with Luke McEwen. So they've got some work to do to work their way on forward. Apparently pun intended there by total accident. But yeah, Porsche's leading, Dor and Altus, which, let's be fair, Peter, it's a bit of a change in form from how 2023 started for this Porsche 992 generation GT3 machine.
Yeah, and this is something that we see when new cars come onto the scene. It does take a moment to get them dialed in from a balanced performance perspective. And yes, the 992, I think, is in for a very strong season coming up in 2024. But here in the virtual world, the 992 GT3R Porsche, quite new to the sim, relatively speaking. So it's definitely the car to have at the moment by the looks of things. But watch out for that Ferrari as well, that incredible 296 GT3. It won its first ever Nürburgring 24 hours for the Ferrari mark this year. So it's been a good year for that machine in its initial season.
I was talking to Gordy Much yesterday as well, and he was talking about how it's always important, right? GT3 cars have to suit the amateur driver and the professional driver, and that's where the Ferrari has traditionally been quite good. But Peter, the other thing to think about is mechanics, not just like at the Nürburgring 24 where the rear end of the car can be changed in 3 minutes, but also just making small adjustments like changing camber and stuff. Gordy was saying apparently the 296 is one of the cars that mechanics love working on the most, and so it's probably going to be quite common moving forward in the future.
I believe their order books are filled up for the next couple of years. They can't make them quick enough. $1 million race car. So yeah, quite incredible. But brilliant to see at the front of GTP a great mix of manufacturers up there as well. BMW, Porsche, Cadillac, and one of the Acras in there too. And that's exactly like what we see in the outdoor world in IMSA as well. These cars so closely balanced together that each manufacturer has a real fighting shot at winning the race.
Yep. The GTP, actually, we've genuinely seen times where all 4 of the GTPs have been in contention, and I think we might see something similar today as we jump on board with one of our championship contenders, the Altus Esports car. Eduardo Leo has been flying this season and did kind of surprise me, I'll be completely fair to say, Lewis, in some ways, when he put it on pole to start the season off, but he is getting into the mood right now. We're racing into the sunrise, if you can't tell, the orange starting to peek from the horizon. He's ensconced in darkness, though, at home.
Yeah, exactly. I say full concentration. They're already coming across a couple of bits of traffic. I think that's for the Drago racing cars, and so certainly we'll get past Tronconso heading up towards the Fast King. Eduardo Leo's not going to be so happy with where that Ferrari came from. Only losing a little bit of time from doing so, so it's not too bad. Got to say, it was Altus Esports' run at the last track that kind of dragged them right back into contention. They were very impressive there, but it was Williams Esports looking for back-to-back victories in the GTP category to throw themselves a title. At the moment, they're really the ones that have got it all to lose right now, which is hilarious considering how Williams started the year around the circuit.
Yeah, what a change in fortunes things have been. You can see, by the way, the Ferrari for Grid and Go has lost the front end of the car. Hopefully it's as easy to replace as the rear end of the car as we come on about 10 minutes complete in this race. Lights seem to be flashing from a handful of the drivers. Maybe that's just how close to the wall that they are running. But there is a bit of an etiquette to be observed when it comes to the usage of the headlights. We'll see how aggressive the drivers are going to be. The other thing to just note is when we get onto the banking, Peter, you're going to see the GTDs try and hug the yellow line. They want to run as short a distance as possible. They'll force the GTPs to go around them.
Yeah, and it's all about being predictable as well. If you're showing to the prototype coming up behind you, going, I'm hugging this line, you're having to go round me, that's the way it is. Likewise, the Mercedes here, the Renault car is left the door open, and if you leave the door open, a prototype will come through. So you hold that line and you both kind of coexist. But, you know, speaking to I was actually speaking to our broadcast colleague Greg Creamer a few weeks ago, and he was saying that he believed that the gold standard overtaker was James Weaver, and the reason for that was he was often in a prototype and he would present and then he would be decisive, he would go for it. You were never in any doubt if you're in the GT car what he was going to do. Like so, oh my word.
Championship contenders into the grass, and Casey Kerwin's got checked up behind one of the Coanda Porsche GTD cars, and it's allowed Michael Romanidis to pass him. And now Eduardo Leo full send in towards turn 6, almost 3 wide, back onto the banking, and the Mercedes AMG Apex Racing team, the 101, says get me out of this one, almost gets tagged by the second one of the Porsche GTP Coanda cars. Oh, it's craziness, Lewis, and it's only the first time by.
Yeah, I'm not liking some of this. It's getting a little bit too sketchy. You saw 2 and 3 wide plenty of times. Thankfully, they've cleared most of the GTD contenders, and you can see the slight backing off there from the Williams Esports driver as they head their way through the Le Mans chicane to make sure you get the punch on the exit to then clear all of these cars by the time they get into turn 1. There was almost a horrendous crash between Eduardo Leo and, of course, the legend that is Charles Collins about 3 or 4 times through the midsection of that lap. Very sketchy indeed.
Speaking of nicknames, apparently we have a new one to use for Max Verstappen, but we'll get to that one slightly later because Gianni Vecchio wants to try and change our dictionaries. But off the banking and into turn 1, 2 and 3, past all of the GTD traffic. Eduardo Leo not so lucky, and he has to go the long way around to clear Door Esports and Damon Woods, who leads in that Porsche for them. First time through traffic's done and dusted. We have about 4 cars that's still in this leading queue. Peter, they'll be all happy with themselves.
That was an intense 30 or 60 seconds, and now the rest of the field trying to make their way through. There's contact going on all over the place as the GDP prototypes try to get through on the GTD machines. And just look at this. This is just downtown traffic jam here. Oh,
this is uncomfortable, and I'm not affiliated with any of these teams. Satellite Racing with a big send in their red and blue entry as they now go either side of one of your GTD cars. That, I believe, is Team Redline and Josh Thompson, who runs 3rd in class. Oh, okay, we've gotten through for the most part safely. We can calm down, hopefully, and settle into the rhythm just a little bit. Because once the racing gets good, Lewis, I remember last year we had some fantastic stuff here in our season finale.
Yeah, and of course that was GTDs versus touring cars, whereas this is a whole different kettle of fish. We've spoken about it so many times this season with the GTPs versus the GTDs when it comes to traffic. This is one of the best circuits for it, where you can see that major difference. Keeping an eye on our second placed runner, Dino Lombardi, the Altus Esports purple car. We'll see him broaden this battle for the race victory against Dura Esports. It is great to see them up there. there. But of course, the main talking points in the championship, the 170 Team Redline car, Gianni Vecchio, is not that far away from the back of this train, although he is under pressure from BS competition behind as they head down to the first corner.
Yeah, that's Rainer Talvar in that split liveried entry that I think is putting the pressure on. Two teams that have come together in the past, although I think maybe Gianni's going to be slightly relieved that the Mahler Racing team car of Oscari Rine's been involved in an incident. There's no worries on pit lane as there were 12 months ago, at least here in this Michelin 240. And again, a big shout out to Michelin being partnered with us here at IMSA, iRacing and VCO to put on not just last year's IMSA Esports Global Championship, but this year's championship as well. And I will say the GTPs, the GT3/GTDs, as we call them here in IMSA, have got a slight update in the world of iRacing recently, Peter. And it was quite interesting to hear all about that. But before we talk about that, let's head over to Tom Sullivan, the Motorsports Marketing Manager at Michelin North America, and learn a little bit more about why they're all involved in IMSA and in sports car racing. So we're talking with Tom Sullivan, the Motorsports Marketing Manager at Michelin North America.
It's quite interesting because we get a question similar to that even internally at Michelin, is why does Michelin get involved in activities like motorsports? And obviously there's various reasons for that. One, it's an accelerator for innovation. It's now become an accelerator for us for sustainable mobility, and that's a key thing for us from a Michelin corporate standpoint. Is we always want to take mobility to the next level, whether it be on your bicycle, your motorcycle, your car. And motorsports can give that kind of innovation in a quicker manner than a lot of other normal environments. I mean, you're testing product at the highest level of performance. You're testing it real time in its most extreme conditions. So we can take that data that we get and we could bring things to life in market a lot sooner than we can in normal situations. The other key point of being involved with motorsports in general is the opportunity to amplify our brand a bit. Michelin is known worldwide as a fantastic provider of mobility solutions in many different genres, but clearly motorsports is something that is going to catch the eye of a lot of folks, and brand building is a key part of this. And with IMSA, there are 18 different manufacturers involved in this sport in North America, and it just seems like the exact right place for us to be able to showcase our performance on a bunch of different manufacturer models, as well as develop some business relationships there. And what we've seen is through that is we've been able to build some original equipment partnerships through our motorsports experience here in North America. So it's kind of a perfect space, and the way IMSA welcomes in fans, and it's such an open environment, it allows us to communicate with our end consumer a lot more easily than we would in another, say, stick and ball marketing initiative. So motorsports is just like that key catalyst for us to really check the boxes on all those different spaces.
And when it comes to esports in particular, you of course were firm supporters of us at IMSA, VCO and iRacing last year for the first edition of the IMSA iRacing Esports Global Championship. But here as we head into 2023, what continues to excite Michelin about the world of sim racing?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think driving for the general consumer has changed a lot in the last couple of decades. And what we see is it had gone from being, I'm going to be old school here, gone from being sort of a freedom provider and somebody that looks to take to the open road to now just sometimes for some folks just kind of a means to an end. Like, I've got to get from point A to point B. We've seen that in car ownership. Vehicle ownership in North America has gone down significantly over the past decade or so. But what we see in the environment within something like esports and e-racing is that community is so open to our messaging about driving and what driving can be and mean to them. It's performance driving is an aspiration to that group. So they're very open to our messages about what driving can and can't be, and the performance levels that something like Michelin can bring to that. And we've seen the maturation of esports significantly over the last decade as well. I mean, we've gotten in partnerships with iRacing, we've gotten partnerships with other modes of gaming that have become so professional in its manner that it's the most realistic version of racing out there. And that allows us to open up all of the things that we do to a much broader group to connect with. Not everybody can go to a motorsports race. Not everybody can be an actual racer. But this broadens that horizon, allow us to really communicate to so many different people about what Michelin is, what our aspirations are to bring performance to them, and what we can mean to them in their daily lives.
I've seen a lot in the world of sim racing of how people prepare for race weekends, you know, the practice and all of that. How does it look for Michelin behind the scenes, getting ready for a race weekend in the real world?
It's to prepare for a race weekend in IMSA can vary, right? We've got several different race weekends. Some that the racing is as short as 90 minutes, and then we're preparing here at the beginning of the season for the Rolex 24-hour race. So everything from our industry to making sure that we are able to construct the performance tires that are going to be used on track, that happens 4 to 6 months ahead of the event. So we have to have the right information, that we know how many teams are coming to the track. Our tires for the IMSA series are actually constructed in France, so there's also the logistics of getting those tires from France to the US and then to the track. And the collaboration that we have with IMSA and all the teams is fantastic, and allows us to have a good view of what that looks like once we come race weekend, so we come prepared with the right tires for the right competitors. And then we have our partners at the track, Jackson Motorsports and Marketing, who does all the fitting and a fantastic service for everybody at the track. And I think the one thing that we know about something like the 24 is we're gonna have a full paddock. We had 61 cars last year. I think we're tracking for that again this year. That's just in the WeatherTech series. We also have all the other support series. Though through the whole weekend, we'll have well more than 100 cars that we'll be servicing throughout the weekend in various different series. So a tremendous effort by all of our engineers, all of our partners, working together to make sure this comes off. It's not something that everybody sees, but it's something that obviously is necessary for us to get the right show.
And of course, I guess 2023 was a lot about getting ready for the GTPs and the load and the tire that they need to race out there competitively. What are you looking forward to in 2024?
You know what's the tremendous thing about the 24 season is coming off the heels of such a successful 23. I mean, in working with IMSA, we've seen record attendance at nearly every racetrack that we had last year, some as much as a double-digit increase in attendance. Television viewership has gone up. Digital consumption of all the material that IMSA and Michelin put out has gone through the roof. So the eyes and the ears are on IMSA more than ever before. So really gives us an opportunity to create more awareness to what we're doing here on the track and what it means to Michelin as a company as well. So looking forward to that. We were able to bring the GTP class with IMSA to the track last year. So we got the second year of the GTP class, which brings that hybrid electrified sort of sustainable racing model. Fantastic first season. Every manufacturer won a race. We're looking forward to something like that again this year. And what we've also been able to do is bring some new product to market. So we've got a new tire, actually, the Pilot Sport Pro, that's going to be launched here at Rolex for the GTD Pro and GTD class. So it's a tremendous tire that allows for extended endurance, so a longer stint length. And what that also allows us to do, again, in the mode of sustainability, we are reducing allocation to the teams. Because the performance is there, we can do that, and we can have a sustainable model of using less resources without sacrificing performance. So we're really excited to see how that comes out. We're very confident in what that's going to mean, but we've also just generically, 18 manufacturers are involved in IMSA, and they're only looking on the horizon for additional manufacturers to become involved. So that's really great. I mean, we're about as healthy as we have been in sports car and the environment in North America that we've all seen. So it can only go up from here. We're really excited about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom, for chatting us a little bit more about motorsports and Michelin North America, and hoping we can talk with you this time next year as well as we did in 2022. Look at this train, though, Peter. That's built up behind the GTD leader, Dory Sport, still in front. You were kind of wondering if this was going to end up being a race where fuel mileage came into play. Apparently it is.
Seems like it. Yeah, it seems that we've seen the same car, the Dory Esports Porsche, lead from the Altus Porsche earlier on, and that is not because the Altus car doesn't have the speed. I think it's purely a tactical decision. You've got a great opportunity if you've got a car in front of you to just lift and coast that little bit more into braking zones, and when you get really up to the very top speed, you can actually run on 90-95% throttle and therefore use less fuel than the car in front of you, and that saves you time at the pit stops. It's going to be about a 55-minute stint for these cars, so if you can save a lap or two, makes a difference.
What are we going to see as off the banking, the Mercedes AMG Urano car makes its way inside of a 3-wide situation. Ascari Rene's on the outside. There's a Coanda Porsche in the middle. And in the sandwich that unfolds, bing, bang, bosh, and one BMW into one wall. A Mercedes off into a pile of grass. You'll get a slowdown penalty for not taking the corner either. That's just a little bit clumsy, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, look, 3-wide going through that. We were talking about going 2-wide through that earlier on in the race. Is not exactly easy, but 3-wide's a bit of a joke. And unfortunately, it has not worked out for them. As we can see here, again, this is the higher place red line car, and this sat on the back end of the battle for the racing. It's not the one in championship contention, because that is about to lose a spot to Apex in the background. The 199 has worked its way past the 170 Team Redline car. So whilst we're looking at this train, in the battle really for the championship and what's important is starting to heat up behind.
And this is where, if you're Apex, having two cars is important, because the 199 could help. This is not going to help them though, because we're 3-1 with traffic, and Williams get tagged by BS Turner. Surely contact to the right front, but Peter, it has seen Exa and Casey Kerwin take the lead at the Daytona International Speedway.
Well, what you had there was two intense battles in two different classes. Try to throw them into the same pot. It's kind of like throwing a Mentos into a bottle of Pepsi. It just bang, straight up and hits the ceiling. That was really messy, and I wonder if Williams have got away without damage on that BMW M Hybrid V8. I doubt it, because that was a fairly big hit.
Well, take a breath and relax, because you can, I think, see a little bit of damage there, but on the banking itself, if I'm looking at the speed, oh no, it's definitely down on top end speed from what I can tell, and that's Eduardo Leo's Cadillac sailing up the inside.
Yeah, and considering the and look at the amount of understeer it had going through the bus stop there. This is a disaster for Williams. Wrong place, wrong time. BS Turner into them, and the championship, which looked to be basically gifted to them after issues for Team Redline. You can see the points there on the right-hand side. The number 43 has now moved itself into championship contention, as the Williams Esports car is going to have to come down onto the lane to repair after damage. What a disaster. How unfortunate is that? But with 2 hours and 16 minutes left to go, boys, trust me, this ain't over yet.
You know what? This is just like the real world in 2023. Final race of the season, how many cars could have won at Petit Le Mans just a handful of weeks ago? It's the same case here, and already BMW M Team Redline seemingly struck out of major contention, and now maybe Williams as well. It means Altus hold the lead. Eduardo Leo has got the world on his shoulders right now, as Altus try and grab a second major championship on the road side of things here today. Look at all of this though, slightly further back. That is one of the Redline Ferraris. It's a couple of cars go off into the grass. Orion goes one way. The Acura for Pure Sims tries to go the long way around as well. Peter, we knew the traffic was going to be the source of all dramas.
We knew it was going to be intense, but the aggression level is off the charts from the prototypes. They obviously feel they cannot afford to give any inch to their rivals getting through, and spare a thought for the poor guys in the GTD cars, because you must just hold your line and hope, please don't hit me, please.
Certainly so. I mean, you can see there in the bottom right, by the Michelin keys to the race. We were talking about this a little bit beforehand. They avoid the send it mentality. Oh, do you know, they listening to this. I think they underestimated the circuit. Yeah, fair enough. We're not seeing too much of that at the moment. The championship blown wide open in both categories. But that top one, no one's listening.
I was going to say,
listen to your Uncle Lewis, guys.
Well, does anyone really want to listen to Lewis?
Good Lord, no.
Yeah, I mean,
I've only won the VCS award twice. Don't worry about it, mate.
Friends in high places, that's all I'm going to say. Anyway, as we see the sun continue to rise, it is getting very, very bright now on track. And I say very bright knowing sun is not even poked up beyond the horizon. But it is going to mean the balance of the car may shift slightly. Let's go back in time, because eNASCAR, the Twitter universe is blowing up. Casey Kerwin leads in the Michelin 240, the final round of the IMSA Esports Global Championship. And Lewis, this was the perspective of the Cadillac with the eagle on the back.
Yeah, exactly. Just watch all this ahead. So you've got the Williams Esports car as they're trying to work their way through traffic. It's really what was happening with that BS Turner car there over on the right-hand side. So trying to stop their way through. Williams, Josh Ladd couldn't work his way past. They worked their way through the exit of the International Horseshoe. Casey Cohen with the right line goes up and under this lot. Josh Ladd tries to take the risky move and goes around the outside, pays the price for it. And to be honest, had there not even been that incident, I think Casey Cohen would be in the lead of this race regardless.
He has shown a turn of speed. And the thing is, Peter, I know you're joining us for the first time today, but you've been keeping your eye on the championship. You've been involved behind the scenes. Casey's proved that he's quick, that he's capable of being at this level, but he's made some mistakes here and there. Now, he's finally showing us exactly why he enjoys road racing so much and why he's got 9,500 iRatings. That's almost double what I have.
It's more than treble what I have. Yeah, it just shows you that that's all on merit. You can't carry your points over from obviously being world class in the oval side. 9,500 iRating in the road side is world class, but you have to earn every single ranking point from grinding away, and all that experience pays off when you get to big days like this. And Casey Kirwan there, you can make an argument that he placed his car in the best possible way, whereas the Williams car, yes, they were unlucky, of course, but potentially they maybe put a little bit more risk into it. But this is what happens when you're last day of the season going for a championship. The intensity just turns up a notch.
Just a note as well, Williams Esports out of pit lane, 3 minutes and 30 odd seconds of repair. They know a championship's on the line. They're heading back out there, trying to do whatever they can to recover something. When it comes to exit as well, let's not forget Casey Curran paired up in that number 95 with Owen Carroll, who has qualified that car very well over the first 3 races. This is the first time Casey's taken the start, which is a bit of a statement, I think, in and of itself, Lewis. The fact that amongst the two of them, they felt confident enough for Casey to qualify and Casey to lead them to the green.
Do you know, actually, I've raced Casey a few times on iRacing. By raced, I mean I've been in the same race as Casey, right?
How many times did he lap you?
It was the last iRacing was around here, and it was in the Cup Series cars where we go there first at that chicane. So it was a long time ago. It was 2020. Might have been a little bit later than that, so it might have been a little bit after the first chicane. I could not believe how much faster he was than me. Like, I mean, I knew he was going to be faster than me. Obviously, his car was. I was expecting a couple of seconds a lap. You know, way more. Casey Cameron's a rapid peddler, especially around here. Like he's quick around this circuit. And I think as he's built up confidence throughout the championship, he is indeed showing. Anyway, we won't talk about stuff which is not on screen because this is where the battle is in the GTD category. Dury Sports, Altus, Team Redline. Again, it's the 171 sat behind. It's fairly calm in this fight. It's got to be said.
It is fairly calm, but I think it is going to feel savvy. You'll note as well they're keeping well clear of bumpers. No bump drafting allowed this year after last year's Apex Racing Team bump to victory sort of strategy that worked a treat. It has been outlawed this year and therefore a little bit safer in what we're seeing on the banking itself, and we haven't seen the 3-4 wide situation that took out, I think it was 6 cars last year, but that is all in the past, almost half an hour complete. And it's not unfamiliar to see Altus Esports in a Porsche. Dino Lombardi sharing the car with 2023 Porsche Esports Super Cup champion Jordan Caruso. And I would wager right now that Peter, Jordan's feeling like he's in a pretty good spot. Watching how the race is unfolding right now, Dino's just being able to save the car right where they are. And important, because tires have significantly changed between the last race and this one, courtesy of the iRacing update.
Yeah, there's a big change in how the cars behave as the stint carries on. Also worth bearing in mind the balance of performance for this race. Well, let's come back to the lead because, well, the XSET car of Casey Kirwan is under pressure from the 43 Altus car, which by my quick mathematics is now your de facto championship leader. So the Altus really looking good, both in GTP in the prototypes and the GT cars as well. But coming back to that point on the GTDs, the Porsche is carrying 7 kilograms on its base weight, the Lamborghini 11 kilograms and the Ferrari 8. That extra weight is not going to help with the tyre wear.
A couple of cars have had final warnings for track limits during the bus stop. Sorry, I've got to stop calling it the bus stop. Peter, it's just ingrained in my memory. Can you blame me?
I think marketing guys call that naming equity. If you've sponsored something for long enough, the best example I would say is the Rolex 24.
Right.
You know, they've been a sponsor of the race for 31 years, and it'll be 34 in January. So yeah, no, I think if something's been called that something for that long, it does take a bit of time. I mean, we're still calling Twitter. So you know,
technically it is still called Twitter though.
Here we go for the race lead once again as Altus Esports on the banking and around the outside for Eduardo Leo, and it's Cadillac versus Cadillac, and it's bold from Leo. Kerwin's going to squeeze him, gives him just enough room on exit, and both of the VRS Coanda Porsches are in the mix as well. It's Charles Collins that sat in third, it's Michael Romanides in fourth, and as Eduardo Leo up the inside charges his way to the point, Casey Kerwin fights back around the outside, and Lewis, they're going to be side by side into the king.
Yeah, and the most Welshman of all time will sit behind him, thinking about when is his opportunity to pass. Altus Esports working their way through into the race lead, driving in a little bit too deep as they have contact off of the West Horseshoe. Casey Kerwin out wide, coming up towards this really tricky corner at 6 as they go back out onto NASCAR 1 and 2. It is Altus Esports on the top of your screen in the race lead. I mean, hey, they're in position. They could genuinely win both classes here.
It could be a sign-off of all sign-offs in what's been a blockbuster year for the team, winning, of course, the Porsche Esports Super Cup, but other accolades, including a blockbuster debut season in terms of the behind-the-scenes operation in the eNASCAR sphere of things as well. Both the lead battles are looking fantastic. That's the draft effect that we sometimes see at Daytona. I am going to keep an eye on that points equation, though, because all it's going to take is one mistake for the Altus 43 for suddenly at Porsche Coanda number 91 to Peters be in the hot seat for the championship.
And the thing that Coanda have up their sleeve in the GTP class is they've got 2 cars up there. That could be really, really important in the battle in terms of being able to sacrifice one car or test things out in strategy or work together. And here is a big aggressive move from the number 91. That is the championship contending car of Charlie Collins and makes his way past. So Kerwin goes from first to third in 1 lap.
I think maybe Casey's getting instruction, though, to slow things down. Contact between the two for the race leaders off the International Horseshoe. The slow Ferrari, the virtual coach by Grid and Go-Kart, checked up Eduardo Leo, and now the Drago Ferrari is going to see all 4 of these cars up towards the front, up it inside into the second of the hairpins. It's now 27 points the lead at the front, and there are 30 points difference between first and second.
Whoa.
If Charles Collins can get to the lead, it's the 91 that will take the championship lead, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, this is a touring car elbows out style racing at the moment from Collins. Got to remember, he's got a teammate in this fight as well. Michael Romanides is only a couple of spots back. In an ideal scenario for VRS Coanda, it will be Charlie Collins taking over the race lead and Michael Romanides following up into second place, because then they can start to control things. In this, as the Marla car has gone for a bit of a spin. Oh my goodness, he is not caught by the exec car. It does make it a 2-horse race for the lead at the moment. That was nearly disastrous.
And it was the 2 championship contenders that were able to get out without having the change of race suit moment. Exet and VRS Coanda now about 2 seconds off, about half a second off of the drafting range, but Peter instantly, let's go back and take a look at this.
I think Collins could get a penalty for this. Watch this very closely. The Mala car minding its own business, then watch Collins. Watch, he just comes, bang. The Mala car's got to turn in at some point. You've got to give a bit of room. The Mala car's got nowhere to go. If he didn't turn in at that point, he's going straight on.
Whoa,
so I think Collins is
wide, and the 91's into the grass.
Oh my word.
Oh my goodness. Charles Collins has to back out of things, but the championship is getting nutty, and I don't know if any of those top 4 cars, Peter, have got no damage at this point.
They've got I think the 91 Coanda car, which of course is fighting for the championship, is bound to have some sort of battle rash from that. We saw the Williams car take 3 minutes of damage from that contact earlier on. Collins, he's got a lot of work to do now. 2.5 seconds to the Altus car, which got away with it scot-free.
The young driver from Monmouth, who's racing, from what I can see, back at that Porsche Esports hub in Gronau in Germany, slides his way into the bus stop. Race control is being quite busy. They're having to keep an eye on all the race track limit violations through the bus stops as well. And so as we enter back onto the banking through NASCAR turn 3 and 4, let's watch from Casey Kerwin's perspective, Lewis, through this entire sequence and the melee that followed.
Yeah, again, like you can see, so Casey here, watch him, he's Casey, watch for Charlie Collins rather, is what I was going to say, coming through here. So he's fully alongside, gets on the brakes, then the Malakar turns him. See, I get it, I get why that might be a penalty. For me, that's not a penalty for Collins. I get the Malakar has to turn in, but he does turn in even though there was a car fully alongside. Obviously, it is up to the prototypes to work their way through as cleanly as possible. But if the car is fully there already and it's not been a big dive down the inside, you can't just turn in as if the car is not there.
I think I'm picking up what you are putting down. What race control is going to pick up, though, is the separate question. Yeah, it was pretty hairy as we rejoined them in through turn number 1 as well. The number 91 may be damaged, maybe not. Regardless, it's 2.2 now, the gap to the leader. And what was once a 4-car train at the front now sees Eduardo Leo try to break away in that Cadillac for Altus Esports. Meanwhile, the GTD still right on top of one another, first effectively through 7th spot. And crucially, when it comes to a championship, the Apex Racing team have gone from 21st to 8th in the opening stages of this race. Peter, they are directly behind Team Redline. Yes, there's 3 seconds that separate them, but that's the championship. Getting up to them and now making something happen.
Yeah, so there's 30 points between first and second, but then it does squeeze in that little bit more. So as they are right now, the championship would go the way of Mercedes AMG ART, your championship leaders coming into this race. And yes, they might have been a little bit perturbed with the drop off in pace, with the change in balance of performance, but they've done exactly what they need to do: get their head down and execute the race as best as they possibly can. And Luke McEwen's doing a top job right now.
1 point. Hold your horses. 1 point, Lewis.
Cannot believe it. Again, obviously, Luke McEwen knows how to win a championship by a tiny margin. British Formula 4 Esports Championship, he won by 0 points. I was talking about that last a couple of weeks back. Obviously, that was over Gordy Much, finished on exactly the same points as Much and won the title. 1 point in with this points format, that's taken the mick a little bit. Unfortunately for him at the moment, though, you can see the pressure behind. You've got the Delta Sport car there, you've got Mercedes AMG Team Williams Esports, and the big problem is the gap to the car ahead. That car ahead is the 170 Team Redline car. It's just miles away.
Yeah, and there can be no fuel saving really going on right now for the 101, so there can't be any strategy gambits being thrown out there. The one thing you might offer is the 199 could be in a position to drop back and maybe draft on up, but I would also just speculate that Luke McEwen is fast enough to close based on the lap times that we've been seeing, and so 2.6 seconds, that's the margin to keep an eye on. Gregory Hoverson is going to put plenty of pressure onto him, and then of course you've got Alessandro Bico. He's very quick no matter what car you put him in, and then the Team 75 Bernard by SimRC Machine is in that hunt as well. The lead Ferrari for Team Redline, Josh Thompson behind the wheel. Peter, he doesn't necessarily seem to be comfortable and capable of staying close to those in front. The Porsche is known for being quite good, I believe, late in the run, but don't quote me on that.
The one thing also as well with it, we mentioned this in the GT4 race earlier on, a naturally aspirated engine, the peak power is further up the rev range, so when you get to this point drafting, it will draft better than the Ferrari, which makes its peak power is much lower down with the turbocharged engine, turbocharged V6. So it is horses for courses really of where the cars are good and bad, but we have seen many times before where this Porsche Flat 6 has been able to be really frugal.
Of course, we mentioned it at the start. Each of these races has a wildcard invitational. A team added for that one race that's not competing in the regular series. They don't score points, but they get to show us just exactly what they're capable of. First round of the season, wow, 41 days ago. That was a long time ago, wasn't it? That the Nitro Circus team took center stage. Flynn Lazier, son of Buddy Lazier, alongside Blake Reynolds, also an Ian Ascar driver. We had Texaco Racing by TK, Tony Kanan's Esports team in the second round of the championship. Last time out was a GTD driver. It was Lease Esports in the Mercedes. Now Nick Ottinger, Matt Busa. Going to be quite interesting to see how they get on, because Lewis, we do have a point of comparison for those eNASCAR drivers. in Casey Kerwin running up in third.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's literally, I was like, they're not doing quite as well as Casey, are they? Obviously, that is to be expected, to be perfectly honest, because Casey's been doing the whole championship and they're jumping in for the one-off. They've got nothing really to lose in this. I think it just shows how good Casey Kerwin is when it comes to road course racing. So, obviously, it's been great to see the various names jumping in the championship in those entries. So, we've had a lot of fun with them, but alas, this one, to be fair, they're running 14. No, it's not great. It's not terrible.
They are in front of Satellite Racing and Williams, but there have been a handful of retirements. Let's go back in time once again. There's been so many things going on. We are officially 40 minutes complete with this one. And so on the replay in the bottom, Delta Sports Lamborghini is on the inside of Luke McEwen in that Mercedes-AMG Apex Racing team. Yes, it's a long team name, I know, but as the Lamborghini gets on the power, it tries to run. Oh, the 155 out of room, contact, and Delta Sport with a new livery for today. I must say, I quite like the stealth chrome look they have, Peter. Around they go.
Well, Merry Christmas, Luke McEwen. That's exactly what he wanted to see, because that takes a lot of heat off the back of him, knowing that he's got to get that result. They've got to be mistake-free today. Yes, they don't have the outright pace that they had earlier on in the season. They've won 2 out of the first 3 races, Mercedes, AMG, ART. So today is a different challenge. Be able to just eliminate those mistakes and deliver a championship under difficult circumstances. In GTP, well, it's looking like with the way that we look like right now, we're going to get a 4th different winner from 4 different races. That's GTP racing in the outdoor world, and indeed here in the Sim too.
It's something we saw in the VCO Grand Slams as well. Remember, we had 4 iRacing special events, the iRacing Daytona 24, iRacing Sebring 12, iRacing Watkins Glen 6 hours, and iRacing Petit Le Mans, matching the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship schedule. And until the final race of the season, I think it was different winners, and then it was Williams that grabbed both of the wins. So it was one of those interesting storylines, but yeah, always interesting to know. But it's also quite curious that we're coming to Daytona, Peter, to end a season. And maybe fitting then in some ways that we're ending a season by going into the sunrise, heading off into 2024.
Well, it used to, a long time ago, there used to be what was called the Daytona finale, which all the top IMSA drivers won. I mean, Hurley Haywood, Peter Craig, they were devilishly good at this particular circuit, both in the 24-hour at the beginning of the season and also the Daytona finale. And you know, when IMSA when it was in as a different entity, you didn't have quite as many circuits as you would go to that we do now after the merger with the American Le Mans series. So you know, things like Sebring and Road Atlanta weren't part of IMSA back in that day. So this is brilliant, and as the sun comes up the way, this is one of those special times at Daytona International Speedway.
You know the plane taking off in the background of that shot, because there is an airport right next to the Daytona International Speedway. If you're curious about planes, you can learn a little bit more about the plane at Daytona by going on over to Reddit, where there's a fascinating thread where someone calculated what speed the planes are coming in and out of. Oh, it's fantastic. Regardless, GTP's down onto pit lane. I don't know what we're really expecting here. Fuel and tires, yes, but I'm not sure necessarily, Lewis, if we're going to see driver changes happening after 29 laps of racing.
No, I mean, like they won't need it. I mean, if you're pitting at this point, obviously the easiest way to do it is to not change driver now, and to change driver on the second stop, at which point you've done half the race, your other driver does the half race. It's perfect. Yeah, off you go. See it to the checkered flag and see what happens at the end of the season. Although we did see a couple of counter strategies to that at Sebring, where we saw quite a lot of teams where they would switch driver basically every stop, which was a bit odd. But I guess if you're treating it like sprint races constantly, yeah, who knows? Seeing those fuel games come in, I don't know what the right strategy is. Whether it is go long or is it go short, because it's all about traffic, really.
Well, technically, I don't think they're going to be able to meet their minimum drive time, which is 45 minutes with the pit stops that we have. And the other thing to remember is that the pit lane limiter got moved from a line at Daytona. It used to be a little bit earlier. Now it's moved a little bit further beyond to allow for the RFID tracking system that Michelin uses to be added on. And so you have to wait a lot longer to be on the limiter. It's safer in some ways. You're not hustling through that inside corner. But Altus, as well as VRS Coanda, very, very close it would seem on the pit exit, as Exet and Race Clutch dive their way into lane 1 lap longer, Peter.
Yeah, 29 laps. That's what I was thinking, 28 to 29 laps for the GTP stint. So going that extra lap longer just gives you a little bit more strategical options in your pocket, as the Altus, Cadillac having to muscle its way through traffic yet again. Great thing is, if you've got a GT car in your stable, they move right out the way of you quite quickly, as we've just seen demonstrated there. Meanwhile, the Coanda car's got to go the long way around. Pace-wise, that 91 Coanda VRS Porsche looks to be about on where it needs to be, so whatever damage they did get, it's not holding that car back. Be interesting if they get anything done when they stop in the pits for fuel and tyres.
Yeah, so it was a slightly shorter stop for Julian Sonnen in the number 91, who takes over from Charles Collins. Zach Campbell takes over from Michael Romanidis, and so maybe we are now done with those first drivers, although if it is another sort of a sprint race for them. I know Zach Campbell's been having some technical issues, had to uninstall and reinstall iRacing yesterday, still had technical issues slightly earlier today, and I think he's hopefully got it all figured out just in the nick of time, as we're going to see Exet as well as Race Clutch slightly sit down the timing order, although I think Exet and Casey Kerwin have emerged at the lead of the race because of much shorter pit stop, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see what's actually happened at the front of the field. But like you say, it is Exet, Casey Kerwin leading. Race Clutch Peter Zuber coming out in that third position. We're on board with the VRS Coanda. This is the fifth, the one in fifth position, on the board with the 92. Right embroiled in this fight with the 43. And again, championship standings is where things get really interesting, but we'll move on.
And so let's sink in the sights and sounds of Daytona with some iRacing full throttle. And that is the 171. The Team Redline Ferrari that was running on the podium positions unfortunately sees its day come to an end, surely after a big moment. And so as we come out of iRacing full throttle, don't worry, the 170 Team Redline machine, the championship contending car, is still out there on track, but Josh Thompson is fuming, Peter.
Yeah, we know that Josh wears his heart on his sleeve. He's a fantastic driver, so fast, but yeah, it's understandably it's gone wrong in quite a big way. Huge damage at the back, almost looks like a 512 Ferrari at the back there with that sort of low drag setup there. It'd be interesting to see what happened there for Josh, because he does seem particularly angry, maybe more so than if he'd made a mistake on his own.
Oh yeah.
Josh is sometimes a little bit hot-headed, but you're right, when you have people in your ear as well, there's usually a reason for frustration like that, as that car, by the way, I can tell he was trundling down pit lane. This is Altus's 43 and the Coanda number 92, the second one of their Porsche 963s. Exet is now only leading by 1.7 seconds. Julian Sonnen's done a pretty good job of bringing that gap back down as Casey Curran brings his Michelin tires up to temperature in this Michelin 240, but GTP still wide open. GTD has started to break up, and so I'm wondering if it was traffic related for Josh Thompson. Let's go back in time, Lewis, and take a look.
Yeah, indeed, at the bottom of your screen, so you can see Josh Thompson working his way through. You've got the top two coming past. You've got BS Competition closing in. I can only assume that BS Competition are probably going to drive into him on the exit. No, it's the Altus Esports that was slow, and then BS Competition made contact with the rear end, just driving straight over the back of the Team Redline car. Ooh. Was it a slowdown from Altus? No, it wouldn't have been, because they were 1.2 seconds.
Too early.
Slowdown would have been way more.
Yeah, so we'll see if maybe we can catch up with Thompson afterwards and get his thoughts, but disappointing way for his season to come to a close. As back over to the front of the GTDs, where I was noting that because of that, it split up. Door and Altus are broken away, and it's now the 199 with Salvatallon's behind the wheel. That's up 10 positions, Peter, to run in third spot, the final of those podium positions.
Yeah, and this is the advantage as well that Apex Racing Team have, having two cars up there in the GTD class. They can manipulate what they need to do with their two cars. Of course, the championship car, if you like, is the car that came into this round leading the championship in GTD, Mercedes-AMG Team ART, which sits 7th at the moment. But it is amazing, if you have another car up there in the conversation that isn't in championship contention, you can pull them aside as and when you need to, and indeed work together if necessary, if they're together in a pack.
Yeah, we asked Tom Sullivan, Motorsports Marketing at Michelin North America, what excited him for 2024. I'm just saying I'm looking forward to the Rolex 24 next year and just seeing how, maybe a new LMDH mixes things up, but also what else we see. We'll go back and take a look at another replay as well. There's been so much that's happened in this race and we can barely keep up with all of it. You jump on board with the big green machine in towards that Le Mans chicane and see that perspective of that BMW M Team BS competition car spooling up the hybrid and just running straight into the back of Josh.
Yeah, I know. You can see it really from there. The Altus Esports car has a bit of a slide when it hits the third curb going through the Le Mans chicane, which then meant that the red line had to kind of jump out of the way. And the BS competition car isn't expecting that because it's had its view blocked by the car directly ahead, being the red line car. I don't want to be that guy, but that is a proper wrong place, wrong time partnership for everyone. It all comes from one slide.
See what race control does say about it, but I kind of agree with you. It's no time to react in those sort of situations. Where is the 101 now, though? In all of this, you're wondering? Well, right on the back of the red line 170, the championship leaders, of course, and the second place car in the points. And it's still 1 point between the two of them, Peter. This is so tense right now. I cannot imagine what it must be like to be in the camp of one of these teams.
Well, if you're Luke McEwen right now, you're in actually a good place. You can play this to your advantage. You can be menacing in the mirrors of that red line Ferrari and sit there and, you know, give them the impression that you're going, I can sit here all day, guys. I'm saving fuel. You're maybe not as much. And I'm quite happy with this point score because this is enough for us to win the championship. Of course, there is so much to happen in an hour and 47 minutes, but Luke McEwen is in a place where he can go back on the front foot again like they've been all season.
Don't forget, live timing and scoring available at v-c-o.info/IMSA timing. Florian behind the scenes will get that posted into your various chats so you can follow along. Here's the look at the drivers as they stand right now. Luke McEwen on that right-hand side, Gianni Vecchio on the left-hand side. Do you want to know what our new nickname for Gianni Vecchio is going to be, Lewis?
What is it?
Grandma Gianni.
Grandma Gianni. What's this Max Verstappen one you were saying about? I have no idea why the Gianni Vecchio one is.
Before we get there, the Gianni Vecchio one, do you know what Vecchio means, apparently?
Maybe grandma, I guess.
Old. Around the outside, Vecchio's trying to move forward because Simu tags the front of Maniti, and good avoiding action from McEwen to dig his way past and not lose too much ground.
That was excellent. Honestly, that was really excellent from McEwen. Just saw that one coming. To be fair, easy mistake to have made. The Semi-Fly car just getting into the rear. We saw some dramas from them at the previous round going into turn 1 at Sebring. It's created a bit of a gap here, but McEwen's already closed this one down, and ideally for him, well, look who's in third place with his teammates. If he wants this train to go a little bit slower, just give a shout out there. You know, just say, yo, Salva, do you mind slowing things down?
Here's a look at it, Peter. I mean, wow, how quickly things happen at Daytona with the speeds that we're talking about.
Well, this comes back to what we saw at the Le Mans chicane, where there was just a racing deal where everything happened so quickly, no time to react. And
so good.
Wow, that's impressive there from Luke McEwen. He didn't panic either. That was the thing. He could have panicked and spun the car so easily there. And also every one of these GT cars have their own attributes. Absolute maneuverability and sharpness on the front end is maybe not necessarily what the Mercedes is known for. It's known for tractability, dependability, but quick changes of direction, maybe not so.
Out of that chicane with that sun just continuing to rise, and now it might start to be in the sight lines around various parts of the track. It's one thing that you don't really appreciate in the world of sim racing if you're driving with static weather. If the sun moves, shadows move. Don't use references that are shadows that are going to move. But as the GTD cars come on in, it's only 55 or so minutes that they're able to do. And they've all got to find their way into their stalls. Some of them will be toward the tail end of pit lane. Some may be towards the front.
Yeah, and obviously, like 55 minutes is not a problem in this because we're not doing a 3-hour race. Being 2 hours and 40 minutes, 55 minutes is absolutely fine. The important thing, championship-wise, is that both the Apex Racing Team cars came in pit lane at exactly the same time as we're seeing Orion versus Satellite here at the back end of the top 10. Drag race off of NASCAR 4, and you can even see the Pure Sims car sat there. Obviously, I think this might be the last race we see a Pure Sims car in the world of sim race, which is a bit of a shame. More teams, more drama. Obviously, we've already spoken about Urano a few times. Straight around the outside, that's not going to work for Orion.
Ilka Happala slides his way on wide. Yes, the final race probably will see those Pure Sims white and blue colors. Most of those drivers changing labels over to WSR Esports. We saw some of their colors and paints in the GT4 IMSA Esports Open Challenge race. And yeah, for Urano, it's going to be quite sad. We'll see how things all play out for them moving forward. Their drivers are very, very talented. Pit exit, where are they all stacking up? Well, Team 75, Bernard by SimRC, is directly behind the Mercedes AMG Apex Racing Team 101. Team Redline are out in front, but crucially, I think this is Apex trying to work together a little bit because you can see that Peter Salvatale is now directly in front of Luke McEwen.
Very important for that fuel save game as well, but also they've got to Apex have got to cover off what Redline are doing. They came into this round with the points advantage, albeit only 23 points, which, as we've talked about, is not very much the way that the points work here in this IMSA Esports Global Challenge, but we've got to keep an eye on that, and having allies there at the front of the field so important, as we've got a bit of a GTD graveyard in the pits as some much more healthy cars come in for service.
Yeah, it is a good sign that people can come in with healthy cars, and let's not forget you can also have one driver out, the second driver in, with the minimum drive time now being complete. 45 minutes is that minimum drive time. We're close to the top of the full first racing hour being in the books, and as Altus Esports navigate their way through all of the traffic, what's happened to the number now? Oh no. The number 92 VRS Coanda car. I was mentioning Zach Campbell's technical issues, wasn't I?
Oh, has he had a technical issue?
I think he has.
Oh dear. That's a big shame indeed. Thankfully for them, though, it is it's the other one that's in the championship contention, isn't it? It is the 91 that's the one that they really wanted. I was going to say this earlier, obviously with the red line cars, obviously in GTD. They had issues for the 171. Thankfully, it was the 171 and not the 170. It's kind of the same at VRS Coanda. Thankfully, it's the 92 and not the 91. Although, let's be honest, you'd ideally like both of them up there in the mix.
I was going to say it could have been a double podium for VRS Coanda given the speed that we had seen from them. Julian Sonnen is still only 1.8 off the back of Casey Kerwin, who continues to lead, but this is Marcus Hamilton, who's chasing down Eduardo Leo. Got Peter Berryman directly behind him. It's always great, by the way, to see those CrowdStrike Racing colors out on track, whether it's in the virtual or the real world, because of just how big of supporters they are of sim racing.
Sorry, are you supporting a black and red livery here, Arduino?
Oh no, I am, aren't I?
Are you? That is a crime in the commentary. You cannot. Everyone races in black and red cars, and we say time and time again over this year, stop making liveries black and red. And now you're supporting one. Goodness me, you really are.
Good, though.
It does look pretty good. It's mostly because of the car, but you know it's fine. The livery, right?
Livery's not bad either. Let's see if we can focus our attention though a little bit on this GTP class, because Peter, when it comes to some of these drivers, they're also at that stage of now that the traffic's spread out a little bit more, they don't have to be as aggressive and dicey in traffic.
No, and the thing is, as that attrition rate continues, you know, the field does thin out that little bit more. It's almost got a feel of sunrise at the Rolex 24 here. There's a little bit, a bit of attrition through the night. It's just starting to open a little bit, but it will intensify again as we get closer to the checkered flag. And maybe there's a few teams who have got two cars in the race who have seen one fall by the wayside, usually from incidents in traffic. And it's maybe been a little bit of word in the ear from the team manager just saying, calm it down, guys. We've got to stay in this to get the points.
Just a little bit. Look at how they fly through that Le Mans chicane as well. It is scary, the commitment that you need with such a stiff aerodynamic platform to scythe your way through that corner. 1 hour and 40 minutes still left on the clock in the final round of the IMSA Esports Global Championship, the Michelin 240. Again, thank you to Michelin for their support of the championship, for the support of the work that VCO, IMSA and iRacing are collaborating to put forward. It's a sim racing championship for sim racers by sim racers. That's been the goal. The GTD class, by the way, as much as GTP is starting to break away, just note Door Esports now 3 and a bit seconds clear of Maniti, courtesy of a pit stop cycle. Team Redline up to 3rd, the 101 up to 5th. Points still going to be very, very close, but let's not forget it is going to be probably single digits still between them, Lewis.
Yeah, certainly so. 1 hour down then in the season finale race. Of course, there's an hour and 40 minutes left on the clock, and I say things are starting to brew around here. We've got this battle up in the GTP category. You've got battles in the GTDs as well. Maniti Racing, Team Redline, Apex are all extremely close in that championship fight, but I believe Peter is catching a little word with Oscar Mangan.
That I am, Oscar. A very warm welcome to the commentary box here in the IMSA Esports Global Challenge. Tell us the story of the race so far.
Yeah, so we just sort of went into this one thinking that we kind of maybe had an outside chance. We weren't really feeling the pace entirely, but it just seems like it's all been happening around us, and we've just been sort of trying to keep out of trouble. I know we're under the looking glass for a couple of things, but so far we've just tried to keep our nose clean as much as possible and just kind of back off, and it seems to be paying off, at least in terms of no crashes and so far.
I'm sure you'll hear all the communications from, you know, pit wall to car. Just how intense is it right now? Because what we're seeing on the broadcast of just the sheer intensity through traffic looks incredible. What's it like for you guys in the heat of the battle?
Yeah, it's pretty up there. I'd say if Edo had a heart rate monitor, it'd be well over 160. But yeah, it's just we did some practice earlier in the week with the traffic, but nothing is like the real thing, especially when so much is at stake. But I mean, yeah, we're just trying to navigate through. It seems like everyone else is having, you know, the same kind of experience. It's very intense out there.
And finally, we saw you take quite a lot longer in the pit box than the others. Do you think you've got more fuel in the tank than the others, or what was that longer pit stop for?
Yeah, so we didn't have a damage or anything, but it seems like some of the others are going on shorter runs just to kind of jump ahead a little bit, but it'll all come kind of full circle in the last kind of stint, or two in the last pit stop or last stint. Hopefully.
Well, we really appreciate you coming in to join us, Oscar. We wish you all the best of luck, and I'm sure the nerves will be going for the next hour and a half, but good luck for the end of the race.
Thank you. Cheers.
The Irishman Oscar Mangan is back into the car after stepping aside for, I think it was just one round of the season. Marcos Nunes, I believe it was, stepped back in. This is how you can tell I don't have all of the notes in front of me for who raced in which round and who drove in what stint of the race. The only thing that I do know is with 1 hour complete, it's still all to play for in both of our classes for the championship. And so it's kind of what we wanted. It's really what we were hoping to see. And looking forward to next year, I was kind of alluding to this, Peter. Tom Sullivan said there's lots that he's looking forward to in 2024. There's going to be a new GTP in the form of Lamborghini. I think that's going to be quite intriguing. The addition of Indianapolis as part of the Michelin Endurance Cup. What else do you think is going to be quite interesting in the world of IMSA next year?
There's just so much to get your teeth into. I think, you know, we've got we saw when we went into the Rolex 24-hour in January, it was all about, are the cars going to finish? And the cars came through and with flying colours. We're now got so much more mileage under these cars. They race fantastically. They have done from the word go. Now you've got a little bit of a different feel to the teams involved. You've got the Penske factory team with the Porsches, but you've now got independent outfits coming in with those cars. So yeah, there's loads to look forward to. But one driver who's been at the wheel of a Porsche in this race, fighting right at the front, Charlie Collins. Charlie, wow, what an intense opening stint that was. Just tell us what it was like from the driver's seat.
Yeah, I think intense is a pretty good word to describe it, I'll be honest. Yeah, it was pretty full on, I can't lie. Yeah, I mean, after qualifying, we kind of didn't really I didn't put our car in a great position. But, you know, the race is long, it's Daytona, it's able to kind of make a lot happen, so we kind of fought our way through the field. But yeah, just when the GT3 traffic came, it's just, it's all over the place. Like, it's just really like tight margins, and you know, it's so close. One lap you're going to gain a few seconds, the next lap you lose a few seconds. So yeah, it was good fun though.
Charlie, you've raced at the top level in sim racing for a long time now, and in multi-class racing. This, to me, from what I've seen in my role, is some of the most intense battles in traffic we've seen. Just tell us what it's like out there, right in the heart of it, especially with so many people in with a chance of winning the championship.
Yeah, honestly, it's probably the hardest one. I mean, coming into the first round of Road Atlanta, it was really difficult with traffic. Like, it was so on the edge, and we were wondering, oh, is Road Atlanta like a one-off? But no, it's been the same at every track. So yeah, it's just really tough because you're battling with the other GTPs and you have to fight through the traffic. You also have your car, you know, like you're always like changing stuff in the car, whether it be like settings or stuff like that. So you have to be changing these settings like while going through traffic and all this sort of stuff. So it's really just like, it's just a lot of thinking and a lot of concentration needed. But yeah, it's good fun.
It certainly looks a lot of fun. It looks stressful, it looks intense at the same time. I know it's such a tight championship battle. An hour and 34 minutes to go. Charlie, all the best of luck to the end of the race.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
I'm disappointed, Peter. You didn't call him Charles Collins once.
I did call him Welshman.
Was that a bit casual there, was I?
No, you need to be more casual. You have to call him by a name he's not expecting and throw him off guard. But that's beside the point. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hour and 5-minute highlights after 65 minutes have been complete. And boy, what an intriguing 65 minutes we really have seen. It started under the night lights here at the World Center of Racing. 41 days after the championship began, 2 champions were going to be crowned. Tidy starts in both the GTP and the GTD classes. It turns out new starting rules helps things, it would seem, to just coordinate those drivers much like they do in the real IMSA Sports Car Championship. Spin around there for the Altus Lamborghini. The virtual coach by Grid and Go Ferrari had nowhere to go, and big damage there. Big damage as well for a championship contender. BMW M Team Redline, contact with Drago, and that was them done and dusted. But the first cycle through traffic, I mean, it had a little bit of everything. 3 wide was almost the norm at times. The Porsche Coanda machine gets squeezed in the middle, a Mercedes for Urano off to one side, a Mahler BMW off to the other, and we weren't done. How can you make 4 cars fit Daytona International Speedway? Well, not in the infield it would turn out, and it ended poorly for the Williams Esports car that was leading, having to return to pit lane. Satellite Racing have a spin all of their own, and while Mahler's misfortune continued, it was with a championship contending car. The 91 Virus Coanda machine slides on through. Casey Kerwin takes the avoiding action and avoids damaging his car. Because of moments like this, somehow no damage apparently to the purple and orange Porsche 963, but there was definitely a little bit of damage to the Delta Sport Lamborghini as they got in front of the 155 Mercedes AMG Williams car, and the front end goes for a loop and the car unfortunately gets unstuck. It wasn't to be for Josh Thompson today either, unfortunately. The Team Redline car was running well in third, but he gets clipped from behind after a car in front of him had a little bit of a tank slapper and no time to react for anybody. But it has been a bit of a charge for the 101, the Mercedes AMG Apex Racing team. The defending champions trying to work their way forward. 16 spots gained so far. And as we work our way in through the sunrise, it's Arjuna Kankipati, it's Lewis McLeod, it's Peter Mackay on commentary here on the IMSA TV channels on the iRacing Esports Network. And this is a great time to see some racing, Peter, when the sun is up and the drivers are motivated.
There's nothing better in any race when you just see the sun illuminating across, and in Florida in the in the December, January time, it's just fantastic to see. And if you're leading the motor race like the XSET team are, well, it doesn't get much better than that. Also, when you've got the soundtrack of a 5.5 litre Cadillac V8 just singing and growling behind you, it's just about heaven.
What is the best sounding GTP, Peter? I've had the pleasure of hearing the Porsche 963 in person.
Well, it's got to be a very close call between the Cadillac and the Acura. I think the Acura has a really interesting noise. It's got a bit of development history in the IndyCar world, 2.4 litre V6, but do you know what? I'm going to give it to the Cadillac. America.
We know you love your Corvettes. We know you do love a Corvette, and so maybe it's not a surprise. What I will just say is when it comes to the engine noises, they don't compare, Peter, to the RS Spider.
No, nothing does. Nothing does. And interestingly, the RS Spider's engine, the 3.4 litre V8, which launched back in 2005, was then used in a form in the 918 road car and is the engine that you see in the 963. There's been a lot of development since, yes, but it carries a lot of its a lot of its DNA back the way, but it doesn't quite have the sonorous howl of this and growl of this Cadillac.
Let's listen in. Car sounds great. Casey doesn't necessarily look like he's enjoying it too much, Lewis. He looks like an esports racer does. Cool, calm, and like he's not driving at, what, almost 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I mean, but look, let's be honest, he's used to throwing the car around a circuit at a high speed. Normally it's around an oval, although he is the... I still maintain, I think he is the best road course racer in the NASCAR. I stand by that, and he shows it in champs. I stand by it. I stand by it. It's not saying that anyone else is bad on the grid, they're not. But Casey's just like next level. And seeing him in a race like this, we know how strong this field is, and the fact that he's leading it by 3 and a bit seconds. Yes, of course, strategy is a little bit open there. He'll be handing it over for the final couple of hours to Owen Carroll, who, let's be honest, between the two of them has been arguably faster this season. That XSET team are absolutely rapid this round. I'm loving seeing it.
It's one of those things that's so unique to the world of endurance racing when you have another driver in that car. These are all top-level drivers. I want to make sure I preface my statement by saying that. But Peter, in any car on this grid, there are 2 drivers. One of them is probably slightly faster than the other over the course of a stint.
But you're talking such fine margins at this level. This is the thing that amazes me with virtual motorsport, is at this very high level just how close all those drivers are. One thing we've got to keep in mind though is Altus Esports, yes, they're in 5th right now, 10 seconds behind XSET, but they took 10 seconds more fuel on board the pit stop, so they've got that to come back to them. So Apex, BMW and GTD putting a big pass on the Lamborghini there, on the Manatee car, Manatee, excuse me, up into 2nd place. But as the attrition continues, look at it, Mercedes AMG ART, they're up to 5th after going right back, qualifying deep in the pack.
What does the live point situation look like? I'm very, very curious. There's the Team 75 Bernard by SimRC car, by the way, the same livery that, is it Lauren Heinrich or Ian Chen Guben? One of the two. Lauren, okay, I was right the first time. Lauren Heinrich was competing in DTM. It's carried over into the sim world, and I've got to say, all of the SimRC Team 75 liveries have looked fantastic. This is personally my favorite one, Paul, but Peter, so you're not Paul. Getting myself confused with Paul Smith, imagining that he was here instead. I do love you, Peter. I hope you know that.
No, I'll take that as the greatest compliment. Do you know why it's Team 75? It's actually because the Bernard family, Timo's father, started in motorsport in the year 1975. So that's where the 75 comes from.
None of us
yes.
Interesting. That is, I knew it wasn't the fact that Porsche's celebrating 75 years this year, but it's just quite
handy though.
It is especially when it's on the side of the car, isn't it? Yeah, no, it's not too bad. I'm curious, by the way, Race Clutch. Where has this turn of speed come for them in the Acura? The 15 has pulled away from Marcus Hamilton. Also in an Acura, it should be noted, but CrowdStrike's car there starting to close up on Viras Coanda for second. Here comes Ollie Steinbratton, though. He's taken over from Gianni Vecchio along around the outside of the Maniti car, and importantly, because Luke McEwen's closing as well, they're all trying to shift their way on forward. This is the Acura, though, Lewis, working its way forward.
Yeah, indeed, but Maniti have got straight down the inside. There's been a bit of contact with Redline. I know we're not seeing it on our screen, but Luke McEwen has just got past the Team Redline car. We go back to this thrilling fight to see if Luke McEwen can work his way back around the outside of the 178 Maniti car. Tim Matsker is able to hang on in that, but the important bit in all of this is Oliver Steinbratton has dropped back. That is a turn of the champs. I believe in their original positions, the title would have gone the way to Team Redline, but now it switches back. It is in the hands of the Apex Racing team. And with still half the race left to go, let's add, this is going to be an interesting fight.
Wow. It helps when a commentator doesn't talk about battles that are all over the shop when they were going side by side down the Daytona banking. So Arjuna takes responsibility for leading us astray there. But yes, important battles. And maybe battles that for Team Redline, they are also in the situation where with now one car out of the fight, Peter, they have to be a little bit more careful in how they play things. They don't have the benefit of a second car in the mix.
And having a second car means you can test things strategy-wise as well and see how things are developing, share information, but also most strongly and most importantly is having an ally alongside you in the fight for the win. I have to say I'm super impressed with how Apex Racing team and their Mercedes have really managed this so well. As the Lamborghini goes up top and the Mercedes just blows on by. I wonder if the Maniti car is serving a slowdown because he's losing 2 positions there. Yeah, I think it will be, having to get out the throttle. That's from cutting the corner, the Le Mans chicane.
The Lamborghini, by the way, has the middle bar, the endurance headlights, not really needed anymore. And as they work their way either side as a GTP works its way down the middle, GTP either side. Yeah, it is, as Lewis mentioned. I believe you're correct, Lewis, in that situation as it plays right now is advantage back to Apex, but I think if Redline gets back in front, it could hypothetically be advantage back to them. I'm not entirely sure on the math.
Yeah, no, because obviously they're a bit higher up in the positions. When we were seeing them earlier, they were in 7th and 8th positions, and with the Apex car behind the Redline car, they were separated by a point advantage Apex. But obviously they're a bit higher now, so the position, the points position given for the position they're in is slightly more advantageous to be that one higher. So I would suspect if they were the other way around, it would be a point or 2 towards Team Redline. Yes, I've described that in absolutely the worst way humanly possible, but right now it's for Apex, and if they switch round, I believe it's for Redline. That's the important bit.
Don't go anywhere, by the way. We've still got the 85 minutes left to run, and we're going flag to flag. Ad-free here on the iRacing Esports Network and on IMSA TV. There's the margin, 31 points between them as they run, and then not even in the equation is a second of the Apex Racing team cars, but it goes to show that they are one of the strongest teams in sim racing. That, Peter, not only have they been able to get the Mercedes into the championship fight, they're also the best BMW in the field too.
Yeah, they're looking good. I hope I can help with the mathematics side of things. It comes down to the qualifying points, as we thought. Qualifying 21st, Luke McEwen only got, for Apex Racing Team, only got 10 points. Redline qualifying 9th got 22. So that reduced the championship gap down to just 11 points. So actually, if the Redline car went past the Mercedes, it would still be the Mercedes ART car that wins the championship by 1 point. But I don't see this staying that stagnant for the next hour and 23 minutes. I think there's a lot to play out. But I mean, I think if you were to say pre-race to Apex Racing Team, saying at half race distance you're going to be ahead of your big rival Team Redline, they'll go, yes please, thank you very much, where do I sign?
Yeah, I'm not a gambling man, but if I was, I would put money on it not being like this at the end of the race. But don't quote me on that, especially knowing that the 199, the BMW, is dragging these cars closer to Door Esports as Jesse Jones, the former motorcycle racer, switches from 2 wheels to 4. I know Peter will love the sound of that, and proves that he's pretty quick in a Porsche as well, at the very tip top of the field.
Yeah, it's amazing how the switch from 2 to 4 wheels you see a lot more successfully than 4 to 2 wheels. Likewise, rally drivers can quickly get used to driving on a circuit. Circuit drivers do not get used to rallying very quickly.
And that's a scary proposition, by the way, for next year, with Kalle Rovanperä taking a step away from his commitment in the World Rally Championship. He's expressed interest in driving a hypercar. Be scared, Daytona.
I'd be up to seeing that.
Yeah, you could see Kalle Rovanperä. Could also see plenty of other talented drivers making that switch, including, talking of 2 wheels to 4 wheels, Peter, the Doctor himself.
Oh, this most super duper silver. It's amazing how he had a gold rating until he retired from motorcycle racing and went to being a silver all of a sudden. Weird. Anyway,
what
but
does
yeah,
Peter think about rankings, I wonder?
Well, no, you got to play the system, and clearly there's someone playing the system there. But no, I huge Valentino fan when he was racing motorcycles, and like anything he sets his hand to, he's picked it up very, very quickly. But the thing is, he has done a lot of GT racing for a long time on his kind of weekends off from motorcycle racing. But yeah, he's a sponge as well. From all of the other BMW factory drivers who work with him, they all say he's just asking questions all the time and wanting to get every little trick he can to get quicker.
When it comes to...
But he is not a silver, he is a gold.
Yeah, let's not talk about the rankings, because then you'll get me off on a tangent as well. What I don't know quite is I need to go and look at the track map to remember. Do we need to have a discussion about corner numbers here at Daytona, Lewis?
Probably, yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, we do mostly, but it's more of a slippery topic here. because obviously like NASCAR 1 and 2 count as 2 corners. So it's kind of like, now if it was a normal racetrack, we would eat that up. Be like, no, it's 1 corner, but because it is 2 corners in over races, so it's kind of like, it sort of counts. That's one where I'll give a little leeway. I think there are a couple. Obviously, here, so are we going to get the corner number? Because I think turn 2 is. See, I think that squiggly section after 1, I think that's counted as turn 2, where either it should be counted as nothing or 2 and 3. Based on other corner number that we've seen. It's very inconsistent, it's fine.
How many corners is the Le Mans chicane, by the way? That's a pretty good question, as by the way, that's red line up the inside of the 101. Championship implications as we funnel out of that opening corner, and with Maniti's Lamborghini placed very, very precariously, it watches as still defending the position. Luke McEwen hasn't handed over that car just yet. He's worked it up 17 positions. He wants to hold on to that 18th one, and look at how the points are going to swap around as they battle for this position. 9 points to the favor of Redline for now. If it switches around, suddenly, Peter, it's back advantage to the 101.
Well, that is interesting, isn't it? The difference between them. I think that now, yeah, that sets it at 9 points with because there was an 11-point advantage to Apex coming into the race after qualifying. They're now losing 10 points, so that's how it will sit right now. So XSET in from the lead of the motor race in their Cadillac. Jacks up, they'll be putting on new Michelin tyres, filling up with fuel, ready for another stint.
So is it going to be driver change time? Yes, it is. So Owen Carroll gets in, and Casey Kerwin's done an hour and 20 odd minutes. Owen Carroll's going to do about an hour and 20 minutes as well. They clearly feel both drivers are up for the challenge. I'm curious to see if the XSET car is going to be a contender at the end. Race clutches continue to close on Julian Sonnen for VRS Commanders number 91, by the way. And so in both classes right now, Lewis, I do get the sense heading into the final hour. Remember, minimum drive time for some of these teams that haven't swapped their drivers out is about 45 minutes. There are going to be some gambles to get some track position right now because there's a lot of waiting around for the opportunities to present themselves.
Yeah, okay, so I was going to talk about this with the race clutch car before we had that incredible fight in the GTDs. Just to touch on as to why I believe the race clutch car is catching the VRS Commander quite as much. If you remember back to Sebring, their first stop or two, they didn't take as much fuel as the other cars in the category, which then meant on the final stop they had to then take more fuel to reach it. Whilst they didn't gain an extra stop, lose a stop, whatever, they still did the same amount of stops, everyone. They just didn't take the pain early. I think that's happening now as they're coming into the pit lane. So VRS Commander the 91 is in, and you can see Peter Zuber in the race clutch car. Peter Zuber will hand over to Balázs Remények, by the way, so he is almost certainly jumping out of the car. I believe Sonnen might jump out and Charlie Collins might jump back in. I don't know.
That's a good point, actually. Are they going to just keep going back and forth? Eduardo Leo has gone out for one additional lap, by the way, in the Cadillac for the 43 Altus Esports camp, and so Oscar Mangan waiting in the wings. I would assume it is time for a driver change. Potentially it is getting very bright out there as well. The lights on the track not necessarily being needed at all. The headlights just more there for show than anything else. It's back in towards the chicane they will go. There is Owen Carroll back out of pit lane, and now Peter trying to get into that rhythm and the flow of traffic.
Yeah, don't forget that, well, just on GTP, the Altus have got way more fuel in the tank. Remember, they stopped for 7 seconds longer than anybody and 10 seconds longer than XSET at the first stop. So they might run a few more laps now in clean air, but still, coming back to the GTDs, with of course, because we're a little bit further up the order, there's a difference of 20 points between each position, not 10 points like there is further down the order. So actually that pass there for the Redline Ferrari going past the Apex car, that does change the championship. That does put Redline into the lead of the championship. So apologies there on my part, I led us astray there. But if they were fighting for, say, 10th and 11th, the situation would be different, but there's bigger points gaps between each position up at the sharp end here.
And we'll have to try and keep on top of that, but never trust a commentator's math. Maybe Peter's math is better than mine, so I trust his more than mine, to be fair, at this juncture of the race. The Altus Esports car, not the only one that's gone slightly long. The Apex Racing Team number 99 BMW M Hybrid V8's just come down to the pit lane. CrowdStrike's number 4, Orion's 46, Pearson's 16. as well as the private label team Hype and Rise Esports teams, all going slightly longer in this phase of the race as they work their way now down onto pit lane in a couple of occasions. Here's a look at the banking though, and this is something, Lewis, where I am kind of curious. We are seeing the sun rise, not necessarily expecting the temperatures to be rising as well, but is there going to come a point in the race where the balance of the car starts to adjust?
Yeah, it will do slightly, but it's not going to do majorly. It will do for the final stint. We'll see what happens to the Altus Esports car. So a bit of weaving from them, basically saying, yeah, we're trying to come through as quick as possible. That Lambo pulls over the left-hand side. It was nearly quite dramatic. Bit of poor communication between your teammates, but fair enough, is what it is. By the way, whilst we're looking at this GTD fight, you can see all the cars in it. Yep, fair enough. You can go back to the Team 75 burner by Sim RC car of Antiola, and then you can look at race control and see there's a penalty on their shoulders. Not 100% sure as to what it's for, because I've not gone that far in the race control, to be honest. But they do have a penalty, that Porsche behind, the number 175.
Yeah, they've been dinged for track limit violations. And that's a couple of different warnings that have accumulated now into a penalty. Here comes the 43, though, down into the pit lane and trying to just make sure they lose as little time as possible. I think, Peter, it's time for the driver change. Eduardo Leo's done the job. He's done all he can this season. It's now on Oscar Mangan, potentially, to see if it's time for Altus to grab a championship.
Well, they've done the perfect job so far, haven't they? Let's see if they're going that little bit off strategy to everyone else. Let's see if this is going to help or hinder them. We will find out in a very short moment to see how that works as well. But don't write off Coanda, number 91 car, and that Porsche, of course, the team that are affiliated with Porsche and their activities in esports. So there's a lot riding on their shoulders as well. And I love where Xset sit in this, in this conundrum as well. They're 10th in the championship coming into here. And well, they're just providing the perfect wild card amongst this championship battle.
Absolutely. I'm enjoying the way that GTPs have played out. GTDs are still fun as well, and Door Esports increasingly under fire because this gaggle, which still has the Salvatallons-driven BMW for the Apex Racing team at the front of it, is now within 1.5 seconds. Lewis, they're only maybe a lap or so away from being in the main part of that draft, and then it is going to start to be the question for those championship drivers. How do they want to play this? What do they want to do?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're only past the halfway point of the race now, so, yes, they're all focused on the championship fight. There will come a point as we're going to see a switch here for second position as the 170, the Ferrari, is going to go up to the high side as they head their way through the tri-oval and down into T1. You can see the Pure Sims car departing pit lane, but they're not going to switch positions. The BMW Apex car is going to hold on to second position. This is, I say, it's getting a little dicey. I think the important thing here is no one can take any major risks in this group, not a single one.
They all kind of need to mind their P's and Q's right now, especially knowing how close they are to the leader, because all it takes is one moment and all the hard work to close back up is gone in the blink of an eye. 55 minutes is around that magic number, isn't it, Peter, where drivers can make it to the end on that, in GTD at least, without the additional stop. 55 is a little bit shorter than the full hour than they can go at some tracks. That's just the nature of being full throttle here for so long.
Yeah, 55 minutes is that magic number, you're right. And with the GTPs, I would put it around the 42-minute mark, thereabouts, or if you prefer 28 to 29 laps is your GTP marker. So yeah, those are the two numbers that we're looking at for filling up and going to the end of the race. Have to say that the pictures we're getting here with the sun beginning to really rise up over the Floridian skyline, just fantastic.
Any thoughts as to who's going to come out on top right now? Because Charlie Collins is back out in front of Owen Carroll in the Xset car, and to be honest, Lewis, I think this is going to go back and forth to the end. Oscar Mangan is into that race, Altus Esports car behind Race Clutch, who have jumped up into third, and it means a bigger point swing, all things considered, now that the 91 leads, but still an hour and 11 minutes to go.
Do you know what? Depending on the pace of Oscar Mangan, which, let's be honest, should be pretty rapid, whilst things are looking very advantageous to the 91 at the moment, do you remember with the Altus car, less so compared to the Porsche Carreras, but as Peter was saying earlier, they've taken more fuel over their first couple of stops. And this came into... it swung it a lot more than we were expecting at Sebring. Those that took the most fuel early, and then, for that final stop, they didn't take as much. threw them like straight up. Yeah, the Williams car was the main one on that. It threw them straight past, which was very interesting. So right now, Altus, I'd say they're in a good spot.
Let's take in a bit more of the sights and sounds here. The sun continues to rise and these glorious machines are singing a symphony at the World Center of Racing. Really enjoy just listening to the rumbling of the engines, and so many different types as well of layouts, naturally aspirated, turbocharged, sizes of engines, all sorts. It sounds spectacular, and you can enjoy all that action, of course. iRacing.com/holiday sale, 50% off for new signups if you want to join the fun. Arjuna Kankipati alongside with Lewis McLeod, with Peter Mackay, as we work our way toward the final 60 minutes of racing action this season. And it's still all to play for in the championships, yes. But for those not in championship fights, Lewis, A, they want to close off 2023 on a high. B, they would kind of like to finish up as high in the championship as they can, because they may be fighting for some prize money.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the whole thing of like, it sounds, yeah, really like a really obvious statement, but they're all in it to try and win it. Yeah, for some people, whatever winning it is slightly different. For some people, it is the championship, and winning the race. Basically, that's a secondary objective. Winning the title is the most important thing. For teams like Maniti, though, Enduro Esports, and even to some degree, the 199 here in this fight, they're focused on trying to take this race victory, but I think the 170 is just trying to make sure that they are ahead of their championship rivals' teammate. That's the important bit for them.
How will those Apex Racing team cars work together? It's going to be Steinbratton around the outside, forced to, now as they unload off the banking, to try and cut back in. The Mercedes not going to be able to switch back and get underneath, but on corner exit, on power down, as they continue to squabble. Peter, they are only 1.3 seconds now behind Jesse Jones in the 120.
Fascinating stuff in GTD. When you came into this race looking how close everything was in GTP, with 7 or 8 cars capable of winning the championship, a lot of them fell by the wayside early. In GTD, we've kind of focused on the 2 cars that are the only ones who have a really mathematical opportunity: the Mercedes-AMG ART car and the Team Redline Ferrari. And the intensity of them both being so close together on track. Redline have got the edge right now, but Redline, they are really in a sandwich with Apex car either side, and you saw it there how the BMW sister car, which isn't in the championship running for Apex Racing Team, putting up a very firm defence to keep the Ferrari at bay.
I have just seen, by the way, there's a couple more things that Race Control continues to work their way through. It might have championship implications in the GTP class when it comes to some pit stop drama. Not sure what Race Control will say, but I think in terms of the incidents, there, well, up to 58 reported. Now, that does include track limit warnings, and there can be up to 2 warnings before you get a penalty, so that maybe exaggerates the actual number of incidents we've seen, but it gives you a bit of an indication for the load that our Race Control team is dealing with behind the scenes. It's too early for these drivers to come on in. The good thing that they do have, though, is some help behind the scenes. We talked about it a little bit, Lewis. Red Bull Racing, Sim Racing, Oracle Red Bull Racing, Sim Racing, partnering up with Team Redline, a partnership that continues to pay dividends. Sebastian Job was paired up with Enzo Benito earlier today in the Digital Nürburgring Endurance Series. He's also now spotting and helping out his teammates behind the scenes in this Team Redline camp.
Oh, I do like a little bit of Sebastian Job. He's a good lad. He's a good lad. And again, clearly a good race engineer as well. Why not? Speaking of that, by the way, there was another couple of red line drivers in that race. Yeah, certain Max Verstappen was one of them. And you told me, Rudy Van Buren was his teammate, by the way. That's fine. You told me that Max Verstappen has a new nickname. What is it? You've hinted this like 3 times. I'm going to drag this out of you on this broadcast. What is it?
Should I keep teasing you?
No.
Do you want to give it a guess?
No. Good Lord, no. On this broadcast, I don't think that would be appropriate.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, no. I tell you what, we'll give the chat a few opportunities to guess what you think Gianni Vecchio, teammate to Max Verstappen, has dubbed his counterpart. But yes, I will reveal the name shortly. It was all happening in this early morning. Verstappen winning in the Digital Nürburgring Endurance Series. Peter, what do you think the nickname is? Come on.
I'm just more thinking, do we need to take legal counsel? What could possibly go wrong?
Well, we managed to get a nickname for Gianni, Grandma Vecchio, or Grandma Gianni, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
I mean, there was Max Verstappen did like someone used his name in a joking contest and called themselves Min Versplatten, but I don't think it's that. Either way, the Apex team's going to try and get past their championship run. We'll focus on this a bit in a moment, though, because it is for the championship race. We'll come back to this in a moment, don't worry. But for now, Team Redline down the inside of the Apex racing car at T1.
Not getting through, but still alongside. And now, battle for the GTP lead directly behind them. Exet and VRS Kawanda try and slide up the inside. It means that Luca McEwen has to finally filter back in. And that is just what these traffic overlaps end up meaning. Still 1.3 seconds, crucially, between Dor and the Apex Racing team. So it's not necessarily like, Peter, that gap's closing or opening right now. It's pretty much staying bang on where it is.
Yeah, it's all just kind of, priming for a big finale, a typical Daytona finale here in this IMSA Esports Global Challenge. VRS Kawanda, their life being made very difficult right now by the number 5 Exet Cadillac, because Kawanda, they really need to go out and win the race in order to try and get the best chance of winning the championship, because Altus, yes, they sit in third right now, 7 seconds back, but they have 10 seconds in their pocket on the fuel when we go into the last stop, so they will definitely be there. So it's going to be really, really close. I mean, the points coming into here, Kawanda led by 5 points from Altus, from third to fourth, but then Altus got 2 back in qualifying, so it's so tight. Really a winner-takes-all situation for Kawanda and Altus in the championship.
As the Redline Ferrari continues to go defensive, I will reveal the nickname for Max Verstappen, Maximus Toestappen.
Oh, it's not that good.
Is it not that good? You don't like it?
The chat gave us Bodie McBoatface.
But that is the standard response when you ask them to name anything.
Yeah. Maxi McMaxface.
I was going to say Verstappen face. That could have been a suggestion too.
Maxi McMaxface works a little bit better. But also, yeah, no, that's a mid-tier nickname. That's a mid-tier. Silly Lully, much better.
Much better.
Verstappen, oh dear.
Oh, now we're getting into big green machine territory, and it'll be curious to see how Max does get on as he starts to drive some GT3 machines in the real world as well. Battle for third in the GTP. It's Altus in front now of Race Clutch, and it's CrowdStrike and Fraser Williamson, the Scot, that's trying to go around the outside of Balázs Reményik. GTD sees a send up the inside by Urado, locks up the right front, and somehow avoids taking anyone out.
Crazy. Again, some of the this is why I always say time and time again, if I were driving in this grid, I mean, I'd be at last, but again, the class I would rather be in is the GTP, and the reason is that you're the one in control when for the most part, when you're going through on the traffic. When you're in the GTDs, you're battling for a championship, you're embroiled in a fight for the championship, you're embroiled in a fight for the race victory. You'd like to take both, you'd like to leave Daytona in the best possible way, and then suddenly some GTP is absolutely lobbing it down the inside, missing his braking zone, nearly taking you out. Yeah, it's a bit scary.
Just a little bit point situation, still sees the 91 in front, but it's 53 the margin between them. It means that if Altus got up to second, it wouldn't be enough for them to grab the championship. At the same time, for Viras Coanda, if they drop to second, they would still have the points lead as it's calculated right now. For the GTDs, still 9 points between the two. It's not 1 point like it was before, guys. It's only 9.
Interesting. I don't know how Peter, are you running maths behind the scenes? Because that was Ewan's job last season, and he was quite good at it. Thankfully, it's all automated, so it's fine. But I want you to be running numbers as well.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep on top of it. The GTP one is interesting because it really depends where they finish in the order. You would think that both Altus and Coanda are going to finish on the podium here, which means it's a 30-point gap from first to second. So winning the race definitely has an impact. I think Coanda need to win the race to, Altus need to win the race to hop past Coanda.
I think it might end up being whoever wins the race wins the championship. And
yeah, how cool is that?
Yeah, and it comes kind of out of nowhere in some ways, because the 91, Lewis, you go back to Road Atlanta, that was the car that was trying to fuel save to work its way on forward, had a post-race penalty, dropped back in the running order, and it's not like the Coanda Porsches have been dominant this season in the way that maybe some would have expected on their return to a major iRacing championship.
Yeah, and obviously, let's give a little bit of a shout out to the team that was so strong in this category until but for half the season, which was the BMW and Team Redline. Silly Lully is out on circuit, by the way, for the 71, just ticking off the laps, just getting the points. You never know what drama's going to happen. Also, again, they're making sure they know they're not going to win the championship, right? But they're making sure that they're at least scoring some points to keep them in a decent spot in the championship, and thus, prize money. This is on board with the leader in the GTDs, Dare Esports, who've been out front all day. They've been caught now by the Apex Racing team, who have dragged along Team Redline, the Mercedes-AMG Apex Racing team, and of course Maniti. Oh, and also, chuck the Mercedes-AMG Williams Esports team as well.
Yep, it's suddenly once again 6 cars at the front, and as the satellite Cadillac seems to be trying to slip its way on through, we are into the window effectively. Give it 2 more laps and you can pit, you can make it to the end, as that's going to be an opportunity. Satellite up the inside of Redline's Ferrari. Luke McEwen tries to follow on the run into the kink. He's not going to be able to get alongside because the Orion Porsche now jinks back to the other side as they swap their way on through. But McEwen's searching, Peter. He's getting hungry, that's for sure.
He is, but I think he's also giving an air of caution because he doesn't want to get into the red line Ferrari and then cop a penalty. That's the thing, is at this stage the stewards are watching everybody's every move. And yeah, the red line car holds the position for now, but McEwen just keeping the heat on, keeping the pressure on. Now, what do Apex do with their BMW though? Sits in second in class at the moment. Do they go off and try and catch the leader and back everybody up, or do they drop back in front, back the red line Ferrari into the Mercedes of their team car? So it's a lot of permutations of how this can work here.
Absolutely, and it's why the live points are so beneficial, because we're trying to figure out what happened in qualifying, how that's impacting all of this, and we can top that up immediately on the fly. So Ollie Steinbraten jumped out of the car, jumped into the car rather in the last cycle of pit stops. Luke McEwen was already in, Salva Talons was already in, Jesse Jones has taken over as well. Lewis, if you're a team that's already done a driver change, I'm thinking Redline in particular here, Ollie Steinbraten or Johnny Vecchio, I don't know which way I'd go with the choice for the final stint of the season.
We kind of discussed this, when it came to the first round of the season at Road Atlanta, where I did say, before the season had started, I would have said, slam dunk, I want Johnny Vecchio behind the wheel. Ollie Steinbraten impressed me so much at Road Atlanta with his catching of Luke McEwen. I don't know which way I'd go. I'd say, look, Ollie, mate, if you're feeling it, like, get in. Let's see what you can do. But let him do the final. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think that's a great problem to have in the team, where it's like we don't know which one's picking because they're both as quick as each other. Well, great. You pick whoever's feeling the most confident.
That's a great thing to have as well when you have 2 top caliber drivers. Yeah, maybe they're not identical speed, but they're close enough that it's good enough. Altus, by the way, behind them. CrowdStrike now past Race Clutch in the fight for third in the GTP class. as Fraser Williamson continues to charge his way forward. The great thing about Fraser is some drivers like to mutter behind the wheel. I'm personally one of those drivers. The good thing is with Fraser, at least, Peter, he is Scottish, which means that no one can understand what he's saying when he's murmuring behind the wheel.
I can't understand what Peter's saying normally.
Well, I do try to put on my best Sunday voice for commentary. Yes, well, it depends. It depends how things are going. Yeah, I can understand that for Fraser, if you're just muttering away. And I think when you're in a multi-class environment, it's getting so hectic out there. And we heard from Charlie Collins. Oh, mistake for the BMW for Apex into the wall.
Whoa.
Yeah, he turned in too early.
Yeah, I think he was blocked on vision by the Dura Esports guy. Oh, again, thankfully, it wasn't the Merc that did it. The one in the championship contention. That's such a weird mistake.
That's not a mistake that you often see at this level of sim racing either, and so it would be quite interesting to get that look from on board, because I think you're right. He was blocked by the Dora Esports Porsche, Lewis, that was going defensive into turn one.
Yeah, honestly, I think he's actually got away with it, to be perfectly honest. I don't understand that one from Salvatans. I've seen that mistake a couple of times. I saw it, I think I might have been seeing it from Maximilian Benneker, to be perfectly honest. Was the last time I saw it, which wouldn't have actually been that long ago, hilariously. But it's a very rare mistake to see. You know, you're turning in a little bit too early. You're trying to get the up and under on the exit of the first corner, and yeah, just a total misjudgment. Hopefully, for Apex's sake, that car ain't damaged, because I do believe that his teammate, Luke McEwen, who is going to hand it over to Alejandro Sanchez, by the way, who's got a great track record around this circuit. Grabbed his first pole position, in his first race with the Apex Racing Team, if memory serves, he grabbed pole position in it, which is not a bad record to have. I think he might still need a little bit of assistance from that BMW, though.
Maybe just a little bit. Now, racing driver excuses. Peter, have you ever heard a driver tell you the wall has moved?
I haven't heard that. I have heard rally drivers complain that anti-cut device, which they put in the inside of corners to stop the drivers cutting and then bringing dirt onto the road and disadvantaging cars behind. I've heard of that. That happened at the Safari Rally this year, where some anti-cut devices were added in after recce. So the recce is where the drivers go out and see the stages, write their pace notes. Yeah, naughty indeed. And then a team who had heard about this and sent their crew out then got penalised for illegal wrecking after the allotted time. So that would be the only time I could say I've heard of the goalpost changing, so to speak.
Didn't they have this in V8 Supercars when Scott McLaughlin absolutely pushed? Let's be polite about it. He nudged slightly Craig Lowndes into the wall in, was it 16 or 17?
Something like that.
I think it must have been 17, because it was in the Falcon. And after that, there was the whole talk of like, yeah, that wall was sticking out more than it was. It's like, I don't think it was, mate. The wall weighs like 3 tons.
The racing drivers in the real world do have those excuses, in my opinion, because barriers can move and stuff like that. In sim racing, no.
Was that like the time we were saying, oh well, we had an overheating issue, so we went really slow? At Bathurst, remember that one?
Yeah.
The worst thing to do when you're overheating is go slowly.
Yeah, let's get less air into the radiator of the car. That will be great for it. If you are redline now, you're into the window, you're going for the lead apparently, because you don't want to wait for Jesse Jones any longer. And Ollie Steinbraten shuffles his way up to the high side of the banking as we get back down into turn number 1. Dora Esports trying to defend. Luke McEwen wants to follow the Ferrari the long way around, but there's contact with the Porsche and now slipping back into line.
Goodness me, you got to say Luke McEwen's probably going to get a little bit frustrated here. He needs to channel his British Formula 4 Esports record at the moment and try and harness some of that racing prowess that he's seen for the championship. The 178 is also going to get past the 199 behind all of this. The Apex Racing Team dropping back behind the Maniti, but at the moment, really important for Team Redline. Yes, at the moment they'll be winning the championship. We already know that that's absolutely fine. We're on board with the GTP leader who's come across this fight now. Ooh, sketchy scenes. McEwen needs to clear that Dura Esports car ASAP.
Yeah, he can't afford to wait So Collins gets through. Owen Carroll, we ride on board with his Cadillac, number 95 for XZ Racing, as he heads on to the banking. And he's going to have to go up high, slightly longer distance. And you can see Charlie Collins doing the same to get past the race leading, now Team Redline Ferrari. It is also interesting to note that the Mercedes may be a bit better in acceleration, Peter, off of the corner. Ferrari maybe, though, once you've accelerated, has the legs in a straight. It doesn't look like for the Apex Mercedes that they are really in the spot where they're able to close very easily and make big, easy passes into turn number 1.
Well, you've also got to take into account the balance of performance change pre-race. The Mercedes has had 2.4% of its power taken away. The Ferrari's power has been left alone. Ferrari, however, has had 8 kilograms added to it. As the Door Esports Porsche goes in, that is exactly what Luke McEwen wanted to see in that Apex Mercedes, as the Apex BMW comes in as well, probably for a little bit of quick repair too.
Oh, did he miss his box?
Salvatell's missed his box, yeah.
Oh, he gets out of the car. It's not ideal as he hands over to Jimmy Antunes, who's pulling double duty with sharing a Haupt Racing Mercedes in the Digital Nürburgring Endurance Series with Lucy Treves. Now jumps into this car and into the final 50 minutes of the season. Remember, if you don't have a driver change, you have got to make sure you don't cut it too close with the driver time. Rules, Peter, get your driver out on track with 45 minutes still left to go.
Yeah, if you've got anyone waiting who still hasn't got in the car yet, and you need to get them in the next lap or two, because as soon as it goes over 45 minutes, they're not going to hit their minimum drive time, as the CrowdStrike number 3 car going past the race clutch 15 either side of the Miniti Lamborghini. But at the front of GTD, Team Redline, this is the battle for the championship and the race lead between Redline and Mercedes AMG ART, and McEwen's got right back on the case of that Ferrari. But does he have the pace in his pocket to actually beat that Ferrari? Well, we're seeing a move for it now, side by side into Le Mans chicane.
Ferrari has just the legs to hold on, though. Now they're on to the 31st lap of the stint for the front 2 cars. Is that going to be them down to pit lane this time by? Surely it will be, Lewis.
Surely. I mean, the thing is, at the moment, if you're Luke McEwen, what do you do? Do you basically copy the strategy? I think the Mercedes, which they've been saying they struggle a little bit when it comes to the actual top-end speed, they kind of need the slipstream. Believe they're both coming in. They are, and they're dragging Miniti down as well. So the top 3 in the GTD category all come into pit lane, and now it's about where they come out comparatively to the other Apex Racing team car, at least for the Mercedes here. To make sure that they're fairly close to their teammate. They want to be as close as possible so that they can be assisted if they need to. There's going to be a switch, by the way, of driver. Luke McEwen will drop out, and of course Alejandro Sanchez will get behind the wheel.
And so we should expect plenty from Alejandro. He has been a rock star, not just this season, not just this year. But I think back to some memories of him at Daytona, pushing against the likes of Team Redline. It's his time to shine. You feel it's the moment for Sanchez to step up into the spotlight. So Antunes in the 199, the BMW for the Apex Racing team, is just out of the Le Mans chicane. Ollie Steinbraten has just left his pit box after being stationary for 39.6 seconds. Alejandro Sanchez has got a pit box towards the end of pit lane, and so as you watch the Ferrari and the Lamborghinis, oh, it's not great. Peter, the Apex Racing Mercedes has done the same thing as the BMW.
No, this is different. This is different. This is very different. He keeps going into reverse and keeps driving back into his box. There is something going wrong with the 101. He keeps getting into reverse because Alejandro Sanchez is behind the wheel now. He keeps getting into reverse and going back in his box. I think they might not have selected fuel or something, or tyres or something, and they're trying to get it in the tank. If it was tyres, they would have accelerated already. So it's got to be something fuel related, that they may not have enough fuel to complete the lap. Something has gone on here. So there is some big drama, and they're out of the championship. They're done.
That's a championship deciding moment, and I can see the look on Peter's face right now, lost for words in some ways.
Well, we'll try and get confirmation exactly what the error is, but Lewis is absolutely right. Something has gone dramatically wrong, and at this level, professional sim racing teams, to make an operational error is the worst nightmare. I mean, it's anyone in the team can make an error. It's a team game, but wow, if that's the case, we will try and get an exact confirmation of what's happened there. But it doesn't look good, does it? What a pity. What a pity. And kind of from a very selfish point of view, it kind of shoots the fox in the championship battle. That was going to be, yeah, really exciting.
And so the 170 is back out on track, still in the lead with Maniti's Lamborghini, the big green machine, still in contention, but the pin in the balloon has somewhat been popped, and at least GTD championship focus slightly turns away. 46 minutes on the clock though. Final opportunity to make a driver change if you haven't already. And so now let's go and talk a little bit more, I guess, GTP related, Lewis, because VRS Coanda exit still 1 and 2, 3/10 splitting them. 9 seconds then back to CrowdStrike, and then Altus, the number 91, still looking very, very good for the championship as you see them working past the GTD leaders.
Yeah, whilst you know, in things in GTD, sure, we're going to have a very exciting end to this race, although I think really things are very much in control of Team Redline, of Ollie Steinbrat, and yes, Maniti can get involved, but to be perfectly honest, if they really want to play the we want to win the championship card, surrender the leads to Maniti, follow them up to the line and let them take the victory. You take the championship, cool, bish bash bosh, no worries. Obviously Team Redline, they're not going to do that, they want to win this race. But there is something very odd that's what's happened there for Team Redline. The thing is, had it been, the reason why I think it's fuel is had it been anything else, you would surely have just left your box and got on with it. If you didn't have enough fuel to complete the next lap, which, you know, they're timing their fuel down to the tiniest margin, it's the only reason why I think you would reverse and drop back into the box. I don't understand what else it could be.
It's interesting. Just forgive me for butting in there. It's 38 seconds in the box, which is normal. That's what the others have taken. So they spent the same amount of time in the box, but they spent a minute longer in the lane. So, yeah, have they tried to reverse back to take fuel and the system hasn't let them do it, which of course you're not allowed to do?
I think what has happened is to bring a real-world parlance in, sounds like they couldn't get the fuel hose connected to the car somewhat, and it was just failing to get fuel in, and so they kept just trying to reset the system to get the fuel in. Eventually they did, but damage has been done, and they've dropped to the back. Nothing that they can do. And so it is a shame, unfortunately, because defending champions, what a run that they've had as well, Lewis, not just here in this series, but across the world of sim racing.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I say, we don't fully know what happened there, so I think we'll avoid commenting on it. I'm sure the Apex Racing team can have their say on it. I'd love to maybe catch up with them and see what their thoughts are on it, and maybe understand. But who knows? Whilst all that's happened in GTD, things still fairly calm in the GTP category, but they are going to get turned up to 11. VRS Coanda leading, Xset in second place behind. But do remember again, the Altus Esports car that's in 4th position is in championship contention. This is probably going to come down. We'll know where things stand, rather, once we've done this final stop, which isn't that far away for this group. Once that's happened, we'll have a lot better of an understanding of the lay of the land of the GTP category and as to who is in the favoured spot, because this certainly is not done yet.
Without a shadow of a doubt, the Rise Esports Cadillac goes up high, allows VRS Coanda to cycle underneath and slip their way on through. 131, 136 was the fastest lap out of the 91. Last time by a 5.73. They're still relatively consistent to the speed that they have been able to punch in. 31.205. It goes to show that navigating through traffic, Peter, we talked about the ebbs and the flows, but ultimately it's about staying cool and staying out of trouble.
It's been like that from the very beginning, and we've seen many cars be taken out of the contention for the race through no fault of their own. Somebody else's accident takes them along with it. So that is how tough it has been. Now, as we head up to 42 minutes to go, we are now at that critical point where in GTP you could pit now at the end of this lap or potentially the end of next lap, fill up, and you are good to go until the end of the race. Sort of 28 to 29 laps on a stint. So who, remember, Altus, they've lost a little bit of time. 11 seconds now to the leading Coanda car, but they do have time in their pocket, of course, with the fuel.
I'm hearing that the VRS Coanda machine is not far away from dipping down into pit lane. We are past 42 minutes left to run in this race, so right around the fuel window that Peter had kind of been estimating. The car is 22 laps into its stint. When will Collins come in and hand over to Julian Stone, and you'd expect for another dash to the end of this one. The Porsche as well, one that we were talking about testing and all of that. I remember the stat, Lewis, 36,000 kilometers or something they did in testing before this went racing. They did a 36-hour stint at Sebring to get ready. I wouldn't want to imagine driving this car for 36 hours, although maybe Julian Sonnen would.
Yeah, by the way, not in the car at the moment. Just anyone seeing that webcam thinking, goodness me, he's quite relaxed. No, he's getting ready to jump in from Charlie Collins and then take this car to the checker flag. He's obviously already driven today. It was in the second stint of the day. We've had Charlie Collins, then Julian Sonnen, then Charlie Collins, and then we'll see the final stint with Julian Sonnen behind the wheel. But just imagine this. Everyone sat at home, you know, in the corridor box. Just imagine the pressure on these drivers' shoulders getting ready for the final 40 minutes of what will be a very important and very testing 40 minutes of the Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah.
Breathing heavily too.
Yeah, don't blame him.
Don't blame him at all. The regular iRacing official IMSA races, which you can do every 2 hours, by the way, you can jump on and take part in that whenever you want. They're 45 minutes, so we've basically got one of those left to the end of this one. Yeah, 2 hours and 40 minutes. Let's be real, Peter. This is a short endurance race.
It is a bit like that, yeah. A long sprint or a short endurance, however you like to describe it a bit. It's a perfect length as well. And yeah, Julian Sonnen, you can visibly see just how nervous he is, trying to keep his heart rate under control, and he will have to really control that. These cars can be pretty nasty when you come out of the pits and you're on cold tires, and they don't want to behave like they normally would in that first half a lap to a lap. So got to take that into account. Coming back to the testing on that Porsche, the 963, based on a Multimatic chassis, put a huge amount of testing in, as you said. I did hear from about one driver who drives for another manufacturer saying that Joseph Newgarden got more testing for his appearance at Petit Le Mans than one of the other teams has done full stop.
Wow.
Yeah.
For one race appearance?
For one race appearance, yeah. Well, now two, because he's going to the Rolex, yes. But yeah. Wow. That's the perspective. That's the Penske way. Yeah.
I still remember I was flying back last year from the Indy 8 Hours, and I met Dane Cameron's uncle, and we were having a nice little chat. I didn't realize he was Dane Cameron's uncle initially. He just saw me wearing the shirt I was, and it sparked a conversation. And then he was talking, about the size of the booklet that the 963 has, 36 pages around the steering wheel. He was also telling me how many hours Dane was spending in Germany, in the factory, in the actual simulator that they have. To put it in context, they have gone to the efforts, Lewis, of removing a GT3 simulator from the works factory. Instead, they only now have the chassis of the LMDH. All the GT3 factory simulator stuff, they have to go over to Manthey instead.
Goodness me. Well, we'll see Charlie Collins into the pit lane. He'll obviously hand over to Julian Sonnen there on the right-hand side. Sonnen will be prepared to take over. Yeah, all right, you two talking about where you've been jet setting, who you've been chatting to, all right? But Junior, you've never met Brian the Panda, so you pump the brakes. Right?
No, but I have met Bibendum.
But Brian the Panda, mate.
No. Here we go, driver change, by the way. Charlie Collins picks the keyboard up, gets out of the car, and you can't really tell on Julian Sonnen's face that he's ready to go, but there, finally, Peter, it's now the look, the sigh. All right, let's get strapped in and pull up the gloves, and let's get ready to go to business.
Yeah, and this is where racing drivers at this level differentiate themselves from other human beings, where when they are at their most comfortable when they're up driving at lap record pace, that's when they are in their comfort zone. That anticipation, that waiting before, many drivers at the top level, they hate that feeling until they can get going and get started and get on with it. And I think that's exactly the position that Julian Sonnen is in, and this is one of the unique insights we get in the virtual motorsport world, because in real life, a driver's got a helmet on, you can't see their facial expression, but here it's a lot more exposed. We can get a lot closer to what the drivers are going through.
And look how close they are exiting the lane as well, Lewis. It's going to be right up to speed. Owen Carroll, of course, has been in the car for a little bit, and that Christmas tree behind him will allow it. It's the 16th of December. Now we will allow it. Wasn't there a couple? I think it was Ollie Steinbratton, actually, who had one up at Sebring, which I thought was completely unacceptable. No, I think he might have had one up, by the way, in round 2 of the championship. I can't remember. Either way, I know some people have had a Christmas tree up far too early. It might have even been Owen Carroll, to be perfectly honest. I just remember getting hideously angry about it. But it is fine.
You know, it's the 16th of December. Now it is absolutely acceptable, if maybe a little bit distracting. But, you know, Owen, if you can drive through it, carry on. How are things going to play out in this championship? Of course, the one that we're really waiting for is the Altus Esports car in the pit lane as to where they're going to come out comparatively to the Porsche Cayenne. But maybe that car's going to be out for a little while. There is the Altus Esports car at the moment, 1.2 seconds over Race Clutch, who, by the way, Arjuna, just saying, another team that has promised me a shirt.
Oh, have they?
Well, Jurgen van Bergen, to be fair, he said, well, we were talking about Alpine at the time, so I want an Alpine shirt and a Race Clutch shirt.
A 2-for-1 deal there.
2-for-1 deal. Get Jurgen van Bergen, I know you're listening right now. I know you've got your dad with you as well. Oh, you know what I want? I want shirts.
Me and Peter too, please include us in that mix. We look over the back of the number 91 machine.
I'll take free anything.
Exactly. Nice. Julian Sonnen now has Owen Carroll in that rear view camera. Altus probably have another 2 laps or so. They did a 1:31.657 last time by, so right about bang on where we would expect them to be. VRS Coanda and Exit, of course, still building their tires up to temperature and trying to get themselves ready. The one thing that they will be recognizing, Peter, is they will have put a little bit more fuel into the car, given they have to do a couple more laps. But because in this championship we do tires and fuel at the same time, there isn't really too much strategy as to all of that.
In that case, no, there isn't, but this is where we're going to see if, as Altus comes into the pits now, they've had a few laps on a lower lower fuel load, which of course is when the car is at its quickest, and the others have been on that full fuel load on cold tyres. So Altus now, all about that execution, come in, hit the mark, don't have to reverse back in your pit stop. They've done that, get the fuel in, get the Michelin tyres on, and then see where they come out in relation, because once they come out of the pits, that is a real time gap. There is none of the race coming back to them. This is where it matters. Have Altus Esports, they've gone off strategy to everybody else, not by much, but they have been alternative to everybody else. Has that been a good decision or a bad one? We're about to find out in the next 10 or 15 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. This is nervous as well, because you have to wait even longer for Altus to get off the limiter now, right? Because of where that RFID system has been added. So off for the banking they go. Where's the number 43 then in the grand scheme of things? It's a long pit. Did Oscar Mangan speed on pit entry? Don't tell me he's done that with a championship on the line.
Oh my goodness, I don't even, I've not checked.
He has. He's got a black flag in the sim.
Oh my goodness me. Altus Esports, genuinely, I feel bad for him, but that has totally handed the championship over to VRS Coanda, who, much like Team Redline in the GTD category, just need to tick off the lap, see the checkered flag, and say goodbye to the championship and take home top prize, the prize money with it.
Wow. Oh man. A championship that in some ways it seems like no one wants to win. Oscar Mangan is finally rolling off and away. It was a 1:22 stationary stop comparing to a 40-something second stop for the rest of the field. Heartbreak, Peter.
I can't believe it. This whole race has been a real battle of attrition. I don't think we expected that. You can expect it at Road Atlanta or Sebring, but maybe not necessarily at Daytona, especially over 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's been such an intense race, and that's because we've had 2 really intense championship battles going on the same racetrack, and therefore we've seen plenty of incidents, but we've seen operational errors as well, and execution errors. Doesn't get any more of an error than this coming in. It is a big braking zone.
He's not even close.
No. That is a serious rush of blood to the head and a championship gone.
Such a shame.
And no one is going to kick himself more than Oscar Mangan. You know that. And look at how it has shifted around the points, where the 91 still leads. We are still waiting, of course, for CrowdStrike Racing to come down to pit lane, but it's the margin back to the 43 that's really the story, Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, the thing is right now, CrowdStrike leading. Sure, they've done this quite a few times this season where they go a bit longer. They'll be into the pit lane now. Scott Michaels will jump his way. This is down the road from me, Southampton. South of England represent or something, I don't know, whatever. But into the pit lane he'll come. They say Pearson's also be in the pit lane. So right now, I think it's testament to how good Altus have been this season, the fact that they're still likely to be second in the championship. But wow, is that frustrating. I think we should probably move on from the topic because I feel so bad for Oscar Mangan. It's kind of like,
yes,
yeah, no, let's poor guy.
Let's move on. Let's talk about CrowdStrike. Scott Michaels, by the way, has just come into pit lane. He's soldiering on. He's been very sick the last week, got COVID, and still persevered. Where did he catch COVID, you wonder? Well, at his brother Sam's wedding over the weekend. So congratulations to Sam, newly married. The wedding gift that he gave to his brother, though, was apparently COVID-19, Peter.
Delightful.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, it's it can happen. It can happen, can't it? But particularly this time of year. 30 minutes to go. Kwanda now into the lead of the race, and if they're able to get to the flag and win this race, they haven't won all season, and then they're going to come from. Coming into this race, third in the championship points, but if XSEC could win, wow, what a story that would be. 10th in the championship, they would vault forward, and it would, what a story that would be. I'm sure Casey Kerwin's won more races than he can possibly count at Daytona, but maybe not necessarily on the road course, certainly not at this level. So yeah, very, very cool that is. But for Oscar Mangan, I promise this will be the last thing on it. That could be that's like a $2,000 mistake as well.
You said it, not me, and phrased it like that. It's time for some more highlights. 2 hours and 10 minutes done. Let's see some of the hourly updates that we've seen so far. Of course, a nice, tidy start on the opening lap. It then started to evolve a little bit more. Altus spun in their Lamborghini, virtual coaches Ferrari nowhere to go, and then championship drama. BMW M Team Redline getting hooked up with Drago Racing's Acura, and bang, into the wall they would go. And as we filtered our way through the traffic, diving left, right, and either side, sometimes 3 wide through crazy, crazy situations, GTP saw the Williams Esports car that was leading the race, leading the championship at the time, get taken out, and significant damage for them. It's 3 wide once again. That causes more chaos. Urano's Mercedes off and into the grass. It was Marla's BMW that would go into the wall on the left-hand side of the track, and all as much more drama. A late move from 91's VRS Kawanda saw Marla into the wall and retired for the race. But 4 wide for 2 championship contenders, couldn't stop them. And this was another look at that incident from Marla as well. It just shows that how important it is to be up on the wheel and staying out of trouble. The Delta Sport 163 there, chrome Lamborghini, ran just a little bit wide and a little bit of contact with a Mercedes for Williams Esports. And similarly, the Altus Porsche got a little bit of a tank slapper, and the BMW M Team Hybrid had nowhere to go to avoid some of those moments in front. And that was just hour 1 as the sun continued to rise. Well, it was all about the championship drama. Team Redline's 170 against the Mercedes AMG 101. It was all about those 2 cars. Single-digit points between those cars at the time as well, and even though there was some miscommunication between various teammates, it was all about the battles for the championships. And ultimately, as much as Redline and Apex put on a thriller, traffic playing its part as well, Luke McEwen always looking for opportunities in the 101. It wasn't an opportunity that was going to last for very long. Dramas in the pit lane, seen them drop backwards in time, and with 30 minutes left to go in the season, it seems as though Team Redline are on their way to the GTD Championship in the 2023 IMSA Esports Global Championship. Arjuna Kankipati alongside with Lewis McLeod as well as Peter Mackay, and while we were watching some of those highlights, Lewis, a swap around at the front of the field.
Yeah, I threw my hands up in the air. I thought it was going to be a crash. Take a look at this. So Owen Carroll, right behind Julian Sunnan, sends it in deep into turn 1, and Sunnan is just sort of like, bye, I'm not going anywhere near that. Unfortunately, got wrong-footed with a little bit of traffic as well over the run and the course of the lap that followed, and thus finds himself nearly 2 seconds off the race lead now, so things switching up quite a bit as XSEC continue to lead. I think things are getting really close, by the way, for the final step on the podium, because Race Clutch are really feeling that pressure from Urano. I was just having a little bit of a chat with JVB from Race Clutch, of course. Again, I said his dad's watching, paying close attention. Would love to see a podium for the team. Obviously, team manager trying to juggle all the strategy.
Did he say if I'm getting a t-shirt?
Nope, he sent me a kiss and then said something else.
Okay,
it's not pleasant.
We'll get Peter to send him that message as well. It is 3 for the lead, and it is 3 different manufacturers as well. It's the Ferrari Grunt, it's the Lamborghini Might, and the Porsche Power. It's a fun little fight, Peter.
This is what GTD is all about. Top GT machinery with top drivers in them and battling very, very close indeed, and showing just how good a job that the organising team have done to get these cars so well balanced together, because they're all quite different. Yes, the Lamborghini and the Ferrari are both mid-engine, but they're quite different engines. You know, 5.2 litre V10 in the Lamborghini, normally aspirated. The Ferrari's a turbocharged V6 in that of quite small capacity, and then you've got the Porsche, which is a 4.2 flat 6 with no turbo on it. So, and they're all running together very, very close in lap time. That's a great job, I'd say.
Let's go back in time a little bit more. There's been so much going on. See what happened to the BMW for the Apex Racing team as they run with the Mercedes Williams car behind, the Altus machine lurking as well. But this was all for 4th position at the time, Lewis.
Yeah, exactly. You know, seeing them come through the first sector. I say it's all just a little bit messy. Some of these moves are getting big move down the inside, and that one can be classified as too much. Like I say, just a little bit too messy. Unfortunately for the Apex Racing team, who probably have their heads down a little bit after their recent issues and the title slipping through their fingers, that isn't going to help.
That's not going to help at all, unfortunately. No. Going back to what Peter said as well when it comes to the cars, yeah, TFR Lab's done a great job of BOPing the cars for these drivers, for the way they build the car, the way they set the cars up as well, because it's slightly different from how they get the most out of the machine, from how Peter, Lewis, or myself might do so if we're competing in the iRacing Daytona 24 coming up in just a couple of weeks' time. And Peter, I've got to encourage, if no one's taken part in a 24-hour race before, there's no better one than the biggest sim race of the year, where we regularly get 15,000 plus people enjoying what endurance racing is all about.
I think it's wonderful, and one of the biggest things that endurance racing is all about is sharing a team and being genuine teammates. We often talk about teammates in motorsport. It's the first person you want to beat if they're in another car, but you're sharing the car and getting a group of like-minded friends together, entering a car, going through the practice, and then going and taking on the race. And the great part is that you're placed with people of your level. Your iRating depends on how your results in races are and against what level of drivers. So you're paired against drivers of your level. That's what's really good about it. So yeah, it's a wonderful community event, and at the very top level, the top split, the standard is off the scale good.
Here are your GTDs, top and bottom. Fight for the lead, fight for 4th as well. Now that, unfortunately, the Apex Racing BMW has dropped back in queue. Jimmy Antunes is now closer to David Toth and company in the Arnage camps. You've got Daniel Lafuente, Alexei Nesov as well. And we mentioned it, Lewis, it very well could be the very final race that Urano Esports take part as in the short history that they've had. They've definitely shown us just how strong they really are.
I get the feeling we will see Urano out before the end of the year in something. I don't know what it'll be, but I do get the feeling that they'll enter something, you know, whatever. Or like surely there'll be some community race, whatever, that we can see them in as one final send-off for the team. There's a big team, there's a lot of drivers, so there might be a little thing for just themselves. I don't know, can't speak for the team. But all we know is that it is a big shame to lose them in 2 weeks' time, basically. Unfortunately, not the only team that's leaving us. Obviously, like we said, we're sending out other drivers, other teams that have fallen by the wayside. Of course, Pure Sims, the virtual drivers by TX3 guys. A lot of teams are falling, but yeah, Burst. God, you know, it's scary. Let's be honest. It's not great when we're seeing so many teams falling by the wayside at the end of what has been a fairly difficult year. It just is what it is. That's the economy, and it does mean that we're going to see a lot of drivers up in the air and potentially with some great futures in their hands if they can make the right move.
And of course, Burst Esports, such a long-time competitor in the world of iRacing World Championships as well. It's a big loss, unfortunately, to see their team come to a close. 3rd in GTP has got the race clutch Acura still in front of Urano's car. Has made a bit of a habit of this. Peter, qualify poorly and then work its way forward. Dominic Hoffman, Danny Lorenzo, 12 positions gained so far today.
Yeah, I think they've done a really good job. They came in 46 points behind the championship leaders, BMW Team Redline. I think they'll gain a few positions. They're not going to win the championship unless something very strange happens, but I think they've just chipped away at it. They've done a great job. We haven't mentioned them much, which means that they've been keeping it clean out there, which has not been easy. But the difference in just the sheer density of traffic is quite stark compared to even an hour and a half ago, or particularly 2 hours ago, how the field has really thinned out. This has been really a battle of attrition to the bitter end.
Absolutely. It's 46 starters down to 32 running, and a handful of those drivers laps down and just trying to salvage results from this particular race to close out this season. It's nice, by the way, Lewis, you complained about a red and black livery. Are you going to at least acknowledge that Urano's GTP efforts switch things up for us?
Well, especially in this battle, isn't it? My goodness me, red and black car on the front of it, red and black car directly behind it. If they were in their standard Urano livery, I think I might slap my head straight through my desk. Thankfully, they've spiced it up this year, and this season. And I must say, I quite like it. And again, they've been victorious in it earlier on the season, the first round. They're not going to be victorious in it this time, but a podium is definitely up for grabs, although you've got to say that Race Clutch Acura is doing really well. It has been embroiled in a fight with the number 4 CrowdStrike car quite a few times during this race, but at the moment, they're running in a solid spot. I don't know where this podium's going to go, because there's 4 cars involved in this fight, and realistically, it can't be any of them.
It is the fight for the podium, though. I think we're probably all agreed on that.
Yeah, definitely. It's no win up for grabs. That's except it's done.
It's except versus VRS Coanda, and I do get the sense with how the championship's playing out right now that, Peter, if I'm in the camp of VRS Coanda, if I'm Pash Gergis, I'm Jorn Jens, one of the team managers behind the scenes, I'm telling them, you guys are winning the championship. He finished in second. You don't need to push and grab the win here and mess things up.
Yeah, that's got to be the message now. Is just get it home, and VRS Coanda will be champions. And again, they've represented the Porsche brand for a couple of years, and they of course are doing so in this championship. And you've got Cadillac, Porsche, Acura, BMW, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is exactly what we see in the outdoor world in IMSA as well. We saw it from the word go at the Daytona 24-hour, where we had the whole GTP field within a second in most practice sessions. And sometimes even less than that, but we've seen that throughout the race season in 2023. We're going to see exactly the same in 2024, but it's great that it translates here. This format has worked so well in virtual and outdoor worlds, and isn't it amazing to know that it was January 2020 that the sheer concept of it was announced, let alone the first car being built.
Isn't it crazy how much has changed since January of 2020?
Mm-hmm. You bet. Yeah.
The fact that we're here, I think, in some ways is kind of testament to that. But yeah, wow. Time really does fly, doesn't it? And the last 3-4 years, the last 12 months, in my opinion, have really ticked on by. And the crazy thing is, 41 days since we started this championship off, it's going to be 42 days until we're racing on January the 27th for the Rolex 24. That's going to be a ball. It's going to be fun. The thing about Daytona that's always intriguing, and it's playing out here in some ways with the temperatures that they're driving with on the track itself, is that it's known as a sunshine state, but yeah, as I think Peter's laughing a little bit there. Peter, it's quite cold in January, isn't it?
I've had two. I've had two. I've been lucky enough to go to the Rolex 24 the last 2 years. I cannot stress it enough how good an event it is to go to. It should be top of your list. 2 years ago, Michelin did a great job because the tires worked below freezing temperatures in the night, and it was so cold. Last year, it was much warmer than we had the year before. This year, what will we get? Not sure. Let's hope it's the warmer.
A little bit of clutching going on here for Scott Michaels. Helps him save a little bit of fuel as they run in through the Le Mans chicane. Love the rig that he's got there, Lewis. He looks like a proper prototype driver now.
Yeah, I thought Dom Hoffman, by the way, was absolutely going to clean that race clutch car of Balázs Reminick straight out. Let's see if there's going to be a move from Scott Michaels. The answer to the question is no. Well, maybe. Going to the outside in T1, it's not going to work. You don't have enough grip out there. Thankfully, he's got his teammate directly behind, so there's not going to be a switch there. They navigate their way past the GTD traffic, but all four of these, again, really good job that Urano are white and red for this, and not red and black, because again, it would be far too confusing. Race clutch at the head of this train, trying to drag their way past. That extra car off the rear end of this one, you can kind of see, is not for position. That one is the Rise Esports one, the sub for the round. As we can see around the outside, I think Dom Hoffman's going to hold this.
Just about hold it, but Scott Michaels tried it, and now as the teammates can potentially work together to slightly bully Dominic Hoffman, I thought for a second Michaels was going to get underneath as they entered onto NASCAR Turn 1. Now, if you want to know the difference between the 3 and the 4, the CrowdStrike liveries, the only difference is on the rear wing end plates. The number 4 is gray, the number 3 is red. Yes, I knew that would slightly irritate you, but it's here with no real traffic in front that they have the benefit of being able to get that hybrid spooled up. And the way the hybrid works here on iRacing, Peter, is it's not the exact same as in the real world, where it's a combined power output that gets put across of the ICE and the energy output. Instead, the energy output from the ICE is what it is. You get additional power from the hybrid when you roll off the corners.
Yeah, no, that's what makes these cars a little bit more challenging to drive than their Le Mans hypercar equivalent, is that they're rear-wheel drive only. We see four-wheel drive machines in Le Mans hypercar where you can split the internal combustion engine and electric across the two axles, which does help with grip, as we're going to see the number 4 CrowdStrike car trying to work it around the outside of the Urano BMW, but can't. But yeah, particularly with the turbocharged machines, I mean, it's just immense how the power comes in, and they really light the rear tires up, but they are difficult cars to drive.
Yeah, they are stiff cars as well. Just watching them around the track, they look uncomfortable at times. We're into the final 15 minutes, though, of the season, and as they run very wide and just arc their momentum back around, it is still this fight for third. It's closing slightly for the lead, but Xset are looking comfortable in 3.5 second advantage they have. We did also see that Dory Sport up to second, starting to close once again for the race lead in GTD, Lewis. There is plenty still happening at the end here.
Yeah, exactly. There's things that I think race victory in GTP is set. I don't think that VRS Commander will catch the 95. I think maybe they could, but we were discussing, as you brought up rightly, Arjuna, I just don't think that. I think they're fairly happy with second place. If the opportunity for victory is there, then fair enough. Duri Sports, Maniti, they've got nothing to lose in that fight, whereas Team Redline have everything to lose in that fight in GTD. So I can actually see Team Redline most certainly not winning this race, because they'll want to secure the challenge. But any big drama, and yeah, it's certainly done. But this fight for third is absolutely enthralling. The final step and the final podium of the season. At the moment, it's being held by Race Clutch, who are doing just an incredible job. It's Balázs Reminick, who I raced genuinely about 10 years ago.
He is a veteran, and he's been across the prototype scene as well. We've seen different generations here on iRacing, and as we head up into the kink, Dominic Hoffman chose correctly. Outside worked for him, and he's able to hold on Scott Michaels back into line for the time being. It's a high-speed game of poker, and I'm glad that they've got the experience, Peter. These are those moments where you rely on your instincts, not on making logical decisions using your brain.
And look at the difference in driving style. Reminick has got the full Elvin Evans, looks like he's about to reach out and bite the steering wheel. He's leaning forward, Francois Delacour style, whereas Dominic Hoffman's just, well, I'm just nice and relaxed, no problem. Don't want to get too excited because I'm just going to upset my wonderful haircut there.
There are fabulous haircuts in sim racing. Unfortunately, I don't think any of us three can necessarily claim to have an offer on that one. It's close at the front. Dory Sports are in the hunt. Damon Woods, Ollie Steinbratten, and going to what we said about Coanda maybe not wanting to force the issue with the fight for the win. Same thing probably applies here to Steinbratten and to the Red Line team. But, and I will say but here, Lewis, knowing the domination that Apex have had in this class, in this championship over the years, they may want to sign off with a victory to close things off as the battle for third in the GTP just continues to rumble on.
Yeah, I mean, look, Team Redline are definitely going to try and win this race. Obviously they are. But I think the level of risk you will see from them. If this was round 1 of the championship, I think you'd see them risk quite a lot to go for the victory. When it's the final round, when you've got the championship, you're basically one hand and 4 extra fingers on the trophy. It is basically yours. They won't do anything too silly. As we can see, once again, a little bit of a look around the outside. Of course, Dom Hoffman's going to hang on to that one, onto 4th position at the moment, and still is able to fend off Scott Michaels. I will say, I was looking at the Urano Esports Data Group car on the back of the race clutch, going out of the Le Mans chicane, and lifted quite early, like was making sure to remain behind the race clutch Acura. So I get the feeling that that car is a lot faster in a straight line than what we've seen thus far, and they're just saving that fuel. Saving the battery, to be fair, for the most part.
It's a good point. You want to make sure you've got that in reserve at the end. And that's the other thing. We talk about sometimes you want to run minimum wing at a track like this, but different cars, minimum wing means something different. And the car also handles differently at the extreme edge of performance there. And so maybe some cars are better in that situation. Others want to put a bit more wing just to make it a bit more stable. These drivers all know how to handle a loose car. It's not necessarily always what you want to do. Maniti Racing stayed with these drivers as well, that big green machine. Redline's a professional sim racing team. Door Esports, also professional, maybe just not as big as the likes of Team Redline. Maniti, Peter, you and I, we've commentated on them over the years. They are semi-pro, let's be real. They partnered up with T3 Motorsports in the past, a real world team, but they fundamentally are all just a community trying to be the fastest that they can.
Yeah, Redline were kind of the original professional esports team. They've been racing at the top level for 2 decades or more. So yeah, they're really the benchmark, and there have been other teams that have come up and met them at the top. Coanda being one, of course, another one with a long heritage in virtual motorsport, which is just fantastic to see. Just a point on the GTP cars, they have 3 power modes or battery deployment modes. They have the kind of defensive save mode, they have the balance mode, which is in general what they will use throughout the race, but then you have attack mode or qualifying mode, and that is where within maybe, it's hard to say, a lap or 2 to the end, you can whack it into that attack mode, because there's no point coming across the line with the checkered flag with anything left in the battery. You want to use up every last bit of that, so when you make that switch, that's important.
You also don't really need much fuel at the end, and also makes your car a little bit lighter. And so as the fight for 3rd flies past the GTD leaders, Door Esports not forcing the issue just yet. They're also waiting, it would seem, to try and make something happen at the end. Now, they were able to break away slightly earlier, which means they're probably not bad in a straight line. But CrowdStrike Racing, by the way, the number 3 has come down to pit lane. That little gaggle has lost 1 car in it. Final lap of the race, we saw in the GT4s, Lewis, that it might not necessarily work the way that we were thinking in terms of draft.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for this, definitely. Okay, so if I'm in the GTP category, you are absolutely right. I want to be the second of the cars going on to the final lap, because I just want to sit behind, I want to save my battery, I want to get a good drive coming out of the Le Mans chicane, and then drop everything on the run to the line, and that's going to be the important bit there. I think I'd rather be in that second spot. Once again, an update when it comes to the live points. It's the 91 ahead of the 90. What a great way to sign off the champion for the GTPs for Urano Esports Data Group to see the last champion Urano win. It'd be great to see them in second spot. Obviously, a big shame what's happened to the 43, but again, what a touching sign off.
It is. It's one that I think come December 31st, there's going to be lots of emotional posts on social media, and the drivers have to find new homes. GTD is a little less close cut, just a little, 179 points. The difference at the very top of the class, but it has been a very close season. Let's not doubt that at all. Finally, it seems like Dominic Hoffman is going to release himself here, Peter, and he's going to try and make the move around the outside, albeit not this time into turn number 1.
And it's wonderful. I agree with the point on Urano as well. The 90 car there with that beautiful white and red paint scheme, is that they came into today 6th in the championship. So if they can come out 2nd in the championship, that's how you deliver on the last day of the season. Apex Racing team in the GTD class, yes, when you look at the final championship standings, you think, well, that wasn't very close. Well, not only that, Mercedes MG Esports Team ART, they're the only team that have won more than one race in any category. They've won twice, both at Road Atlanta and at Sebring, and they're going to come away not winning the championship. They're going to be tonight scratching their head going, how did that all go wrong? How did we not win that? It's just motorsport can be really cruel sometimes.
And tracks often, I feel, Daytona in particular included amongst them, pick the winner. You can do all you want. At the end of the day, there's only so much you can do. Maybe there was something that we should have kept in mind though, Lewis. You look back to the iRacing Daytona 24 and look through some of the history. Who's the most successful team when it comes to that one?
In the Daytona 24 hour?
And the iRacing.
Yep. It might be Porsche. Well, Commander. Let's go with Commander. It was definitely Commander. I think Mitchell de Jong is the most successful driver, but it's definitely Commander a good round there.
It is, and the fact that last year in 2022, the last year when the LMP2 class was the top level prototype class for the race, Apex and Coanda were pushed to the ragged edge. And when we say pushed, Joshua Rogers, Peter, was making mistakes and spinning out of the bus stop. That is to the extent to which the Apex Racing team pushed Coanda. Maybe we shouldn't have been surprised that they came here and had got it figured out in what they needed to do.
Well, a Josh Rogers spin is certainly a collector's item, that's for certain. So yeah, but that's the level that we're at now. You know, we mentioned the year 2020, how that changed the world in so many ways, but virtual motorsport was on such an upward trajectory prior to that point, and it just turbocharged that trajectory to the moon. But the thing that I think we can all be proud of in this community is that it stayed there, it's maintained that level, and the people have come up to join on that level. And in any sport, if you have a greater participation at the base level, then you have a higher peak of talent at the top.
It's all about the pyramid to get people to the top, right? And how do you build them up there? And that's where IMSA, for example, in terms of the real world, you know, people want to get to the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Well, look at all the different things that you can do. One rung lower down is the Michelin Pilot Challenge, GT4, and the touring car machines. You've got LMP3 competition as well. There's Porsche Cup. There's the new Ford Mustang Spec Series. There's all sorts of ways to get introduced. And if you don't have a lot of money, the best way to get started still costs a decent amount. Those Mazda MX-5s. What a show they always manage to put on, in particular here at Daytona. 5 minutes left to go though, Lewis, and it's still a 10th or so at the front of this GTD field. Team Redline still with the mirrors filled by the sights of Damon Woods, but that Porsche hasn't started to look for the move just yet.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. And this is the whole thing, you know, as we approach that final 4.5 minutes, you're ticking off the laps. At this point in the GTDs, you're just trying to work out which one's going to be the last one. And going from there, because it's a little bit harder for them. Obviously, they've got to work out where the GTPs are comparatively to them, and it's all just like big numbers, big brain. That's why you've got someone else calculating that in the back of shop just to try and make out what's going on. It was Ollie Steinbrand, by the way, this person that I was complaining about in the Christmas tree, because I can see it in the background there. And instantly, I was made angry. It's fine because it's a 16th, but I was instantly made angry by it. So it was definitely Steinbrand.
It was, you're right. What I'm getting confused by now, looking at this, is why would you put the fan behind you, Peter, when there's the chair that's blocking most of the airflow to keep you cool?
Science.
Maybe there's holes in the chair, which I think there might be.
So then your neck's getting cooled, but nothing else.
Maybe the fan isn't on. Is it?
No, it is. I believe it is, but I will say, imagine if that fan was like to the left or the right of you. I'd want the fan like directly in front, because if it's on the left or the right, it's cool on one side of my face. The other side of my face is still roasting hot.
Apparently this is an Australian thing, we're being told. I know they're upside down in Australia. I didn't realize they put the fan behind instead of in front, but it is 9 o'clock in the morning for them in Australia. It's also, let's not forget, inverted seasons. They're probably fairly warm, but having said that, it's warm everywhere in the summer nowadays, it feels like, and so sim racers have to find little tricks like this, box fans, air conditioning, or if you're in the Porsche Coanda hub in Gronau. I've heard it's quite cool to keep everyone nice and chill. XZ still lead, 4.5 seconds the margin at the front, Lewis. It's been stagnant there. It's really GTD's overall lead where we've got the focus, as well as still 3rd, 4th and 5th in the GTPs.
Yeah, which again was actually millimetres away from having an enormous crash. We'll see Damon Woods once again going high. I think just not interested in going for a move right now. Wants to stay behind at present as we look back to 4th position in the GTP category. Urano Esports. This is where things are not. They're not intentionally remaining the way they are. It's just like I say, very difficult. I don't want to be that guy. I can definitely see race clutch looseness at the line, and maybe even dropping back even to 5th, just courtesy of the slipstream and the battery. They need to save their battery as well, but they're kind of having to use quite a lot of it to remain where they are.
Now, one thing I don't know is there are multiple gear stacks when it comes to these cars, short and long. Usually the short gear stack, not something you'd use at something like Daytona, but first gear in the long stack is a little bit long, and Peter, that's a problem. A, coming out of pit lane when you're trying to get away from a dead crawl. B, on the race start when you're trying to build up that momentum. And C, maybe most importantly, in traffic when you're trying to work your way on forward. I don't know what the decisions here are for the Acura teams. I'll be completely honest, but I'm just wondering, maybe the reason why the Urano car is lifting so much is they are on the short stack.
Potentially. I mean, when we saw the wonderful onboard lap with Tommy Milner earlier on, a driver who it's fair to say knows his way around here for the understatement of the day, and he'd never had the car in first gear. Okay, you could say the Cadillac's got monster torque so it could pull away, possibly, but I think it would be applicable to all cars. So he never second gear at the absolute lowest. So interesting how that would be in either the Acura with the 2.4 V6 turbo and the BMW.
Now, these drivers technically will have this lap to finish things off, and an additional one if Casey Kerwin and Owen Carroll don't catch them in the exit car. There are your race leaders. Remember, it's about a 13-second delta between the two classes. I think those drivers will get 2 laps. One more lap to go, though, in the IMSA Esports Global Championship at the front of the GTP field. And it's XZ's Cadillac that leads at the line, Lewis.
And got to say, unbelievable break in traffic for the race touch car on that 3rd step of the podium. They've been able to pull out nearly 2 seconds now on that grouping behind. So it could actually work out in favour of the 15. We'll have to go back to that in a moment, because, again, this grouping here, will it be the last lap for them?
No.
No, I think they should still get another one, because Owen's coming down to the West Horseshoe now.
I think they are probably 5 seconds or something like that good in terms of getting one additional lap. Here is the Urano car that now, Peter, like Lewis mentioned, is more focused on 4th and the car behind than the car in front.
Yeah, now got to be on the defensive now. Has the Urano car with the CrowdStrike Acura right there behind that ARX06 GTP machine, and have they got more battery up the sleeve for this final dash to the flag?
It's going to be the blast out of the Le Mans chicane that really matters for them. On the run into that, can you unsettle the car in front of you, though, by running a more aggressive line? That will be the question they're all thinking. Those are 2 drivers, though, Lewis, on their way to a victory, and pretty happy, I think, with how the season has gone.
Yeah, there you go. Smiles already starting to come out. They know it's done. They know as they run towards the line, it's over. Unbelievable drive, Arjuna.
Oh, you've got to love it. Owen Carroll, Casey Kerwin, victorious in the Michelin 240, the final round of the 2023 IMSA Esports Global Championship. And what a drive it was for them. Vieras Coanda should grab the championship. It was close with them to race clutch at the end. I think they were saving a lot of fuel. Urano just best off CrowdStrike on the run to the line as well. Photo finishes for some after a dramatic 41-day season. Peter, we're not done though. Still almost half a lap left to go for the GTD win.
Oh, we are far from done. This is a typical Daytona crescendo here. Can Team Redline sign off their championship in the finest possible style on this final lap? They've got it in the bag, guaranteed for the championship, but they want to win this in style. They want to win this race.
It's was a championship fight that came to an end after technical issues for the Mercedes-AMG Apex Racing team. Ollie Steinbratton then knew the job was done, but he's led every single lap basically from that moment. The draft from the Porsche doesn't seem to be closing him in as they build up towards that Le Mans chicane for one final time. Steinbratton doesn't cover the inside. He knows all he's got to do, Lewis, is get the best run off the corner he can.
Yeah, I mean, it would be quite fitting for the Team Redline car to be victorious here. I mean, think of their championship thus far. They've finished second in the first race, first in the second race, second in the third race. They'd like to make it another first. I think it might just be, but here comes the Slipstream Games.
And so, out of NASCAR turn 3 and 4, building to the line, Steinbratton releases a little breath there, just waiting to see what happens. Neither driver really knows, but I think Ollie Steinbratton realizes he's done just enough. The 2023 IMSA Esports Global Champions in the GTD class. It's Gianni Vecchio, it's Ollie Steinbratton signing off in style with a second win in 2023. The Michelin 240 is theirs. And Peter, what a result, and what a fantastic season it has been. To win at the end, it's how you know they drove to the championship.
Yeah, it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. You got to spare a thought for the Apex Racing team. They put up a great fight, and unfortunately, circumstances didn't go their way. But what about this bunch as well? Except Racing, Casey Kerwin and Owen Carroll in their Cadillac, and in that last stint, they just marched away.
Pretty impressive stuff, first from Casey and then from Owen. Both drivers contributed to that win, and the 2022 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion is a race winner in the IMSA Esports Global Championship as well. There are, of course, the Team Redline drivers victorious in the GTD category, but Lewis, VRS Coanda in the GTP. They finished 4/10 in front of Race Clutch at the end. Second place should grab them the championship.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously provisional and all that kind of like, but you know, again, it just shows how incredible they've been to that second place once again this season.
And so here's the result. XSET's 95 victorious at the end in the Michelin 240, with Julian Sonnen bringing the 91 for VRS Coanda in second. 4 different manufacturers in the front 4. Acura and Race Clutch third. BMW and Dominic Hoffman fourth for Urano as they sign off in this championship and have been very strong competitors, that is for sure. The 2 CrowdStrike entries, 5th and 6th positions. Late drive-through penalty drops Fraser Williamson down the order, while Nathan Moore, late replacement in the Pearsons number 16, drove his way from the back after being disallowed from qualifying. Oscar Mangan will be kicking himself. Speeding penalty cost him not just a chance of a victory, but a championship as well. But in front of Alex Gall for the Satellite Racing team and Benson Empty for the Orion race team, replacing Yao Baz for today. Connor Harrington, the final car, 1 lap down for the private label Team Hype, with Rise Esports, the guest entry, 1 lap down, and then 2 laps down for Matt Farrow and Williams Esports. 1 point leading the race, 1 point leading the championship, 13th for them, and in front of the Apex Racing BMW. BMW M Team Redline behind them, and then the rest of the DNFs. In the GTD, Steinbratton victorious, and by just a 10th and a half. The victory, not what he needed to grab the championship, but they will take it, that's for sure. Woods for Dorr, Marriott for Maniti, the only other car scored on the leading lap by virtue of where the GTP leader overlapped. And then Caruso, along with Nessoff, Montoro, and Tunes Troncoso. And then the Team 75 Bernard by Sim RC entry as well, just in front of Daniel Lafuente to round out the top 10 in this category. You have the Pure Sims 116 11th, Impulse down in 12th, and then the second Urano Mercedes in front of Delta Sports Lamborghini. Unfortunately for Alejandro Sanchez, the Apex Racing Mercedes dropped to 15th after failing to take fuel on successfully initially. James Armstrong for Brabham 16th, and then Belliciotis for Mercedes Williams down in 17th. Altus Coanda, virtual coach by Grid and Go, complete the rest of the top 20 as we get into the used car lot of machines before Thompson's second Redline Ferrari, Go Banchini's Lamborghini for Grid and Go, the Mahler BMW, the BS Turner BMW, and then the Brabham Lamborghini round out the running order in the class. So that was a look at the results top to bottom. Let's go ahead, though, and take a look at our IMSA Esports move of the race. 2 hours and 40 minutes of wild, chaotic action. And Peter, it was this moment, the run out of Le Mans chicane.
Such an important part of Daytona setting up a move is getting out of that Le Mans chicane as quickly as possible, and the XZ Cadillac just getting that power down. I think the Cadillac's got such a linear power delivery that you can really get on the power early quite nicely. The Porsche's maybe a little bit more peaky in the way it delivers its power, but you can see the XZ car here just using that slipstream as good as possible, going up to the high line, selling the dummy almost, and then stuffing up the inside. And rightly so, the VRS car, as Julian Sonnen said, that's it, over to you, I've got a championship to win.
And quite rightly selected IMSA Esports move of the race, you'd have to think, as they then took advantage of that to run away. What a race it was, the Michelin 240, to bring the books to a close for the 2023 IMSA Esports Global Championship. Going to look forward to these post-race interviews, first with the XZ team and then with our championship winners as well, because there's so much to talk about. Lewis McLeod's ready to talk to the winners, though, Casey Kerwin and Owen Carroll.
Yeah, and I'm going to start things with Owen Carroll, of course, winning the IMSA Esports move of the race with that fantastic move on Julian Sonnen coming down into the first corner. How was your heart at that moment? I mean, it was an incredible move. Again, so brave to have put that one on. You weren't taking second place today, were you?
No, of course not, mate. After Casey did such a phenomenal job in the first stint, and we did well on the strategy as well, I thought, you know what, it's all or nothing. Got to send it. Purple or DNF, all that good stuff. But yeah, I just kind of hoped that the thing stopped, and eventually it did, and was able to have some good traffic after that as well to move forward. So yeah, really pleased with the result.
And Casey, I mean, look, we've spoken to you quite a lot this season, normally before your stints. This time you started the race, did an incredible job, excellent opening stint. Let's be honest, you've won a lot in the world of sim racing. Where does this win rank in all of that? Because it's incredible to see.
Yeah, it's so cool for me, man. Yeah, this IMSA stuff, I said at the beginning of the season, IMSA is like my favorite thing in the world right now. It's like my newfound love. Like I'm 5 years old again, falling in love with NASCAR. I'm just obsessed with it. And yeah, it's just so much fun. And I hadn't really done road like to the extent I've done it this year, and seemed pretty competitive in the GTP stuff. And we got the opportunity to compete in this. And just a big thanks to Owen and the Apex guys for letting me steal them and helping me for all this. Yeah, it's so cool to me, man. I have so much respect for how good everyone is in this, and to be competitive. At the other tracks, I knew Daytona would be my strongest, and for Owen to tap me to qualify and start the car this week. And if anyone looks at my NASCAR history, I'm not a good qualifier. So to nearly put it on pole, yeah, it's just unbelievable. I'm just, had so much fun and just incredibly proud of how he performed, and wish we could have had Watkins Glen back with how good that was going before I threw it in the fence. We could have been somewhere in the hunt for it, but yeah, I just had so much fun, and yeah, I couldn't be prouder.
Well, boys, I think from all of us here, we want to give a massive round of applause and huge respect to it. You picked great round to win, which is the last one of the championship, because you've got to run off and grab the championship winners as well. But again, amazing result, and congratulations for the victory.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
There we go. Winners at Daytona, Arjuna, and they've done fantastic.
That was pretty cool to have the chat with them. And so now, as we finish up with those winners, let's see if we can dial things up with, I believe we are going to talk to the champions in just a few moments' time. In fact, wait, before we look at that, there's the confirmation. GTD class champion. It's Team Redline, the IMSA Esports 2023 winners, and they are getting ready to chat with the one and only Peter Mackay to talk about what a dramatic season it has been for the entire team, but I think B as well, what this race like was from their perspective, because Peter, the swings and roundabouts, there were plenty for them, and you can hear them currently still talking in and amongst each other. They can't quite believe what's happened over the course of the race.
I bet they are. I bet they are a bit surprised of how that turned out and how things just came to them. Guys, have you got a copy with us here in the iRacing commentary box?
We definitely do not.
I don't think we'd. I see what we might have. We might have Ollie Steinbrow. Let's see. Ollie, have you got a copy?
Yeah. Copy.
Excellent. Well, first of all, congratulations. You are our 2023 IMSA Global Esports Series GTD champions. Tell us how you're feeling right now.
That was honestly incredible. We've been putting in so many hours to make sure that the package we had in the car was just like the absolute maximum we could bring, like just testing over and over. And to have that pay off like now is just incredible.
Really thoroughly deserved. Gianni, you had to sit there and watch it all going on. What was your thoughts when the Apex car hit troubles? What was going through your mind at that point?
You cannot imagine. I ran a marathon here in my apartment. I was so nervous. I think I did like 12 kilometers on my own here. I don't know. It was a roller coaster of emotions. After our sister car got like taken out, we obviously had like some sort of joker that we couldn't use anymore, and then the Apex car was there in front of us, behind us. I obviously knew the points. Yeah, I mean, it sounds quite bad. I mean, I feel for them. This is not lovely how that happens, but I was kind of relieved at the stage, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's not a nice way to end this, but obviously, at the end of the day, I just take it. I take the W.
And a question for both of you. You know, you guys race for a team that have got such a long history in virtual motorsport, so much success in all kinds of different cars, all different sims, etc. What is it that keeps you guys coming back? Where do you draw your motivation from? Because you keep coming out on top time and time again. Where is it that you both personally draw that from?
It's Andre Kunkman, our engineer. He is the one who, I can't say the word that I want to say, but he is the one who like keeps us practicing every day of the week. And no, he's the one who like drives us into that. But also, like, I mean, everyone else in the team is just a nice. I mean, the group that we are just pushing each other, and then you have someone like Max Verstappen who's behind us, who is also the one who just keeps us motivated, pushes us. And I mean, that's just. I mean, if we have such a nice group, the chemistry is good. Then you obviously you push yourself over and over again, and I think that's what keeps us motivated for all of this.
And Ollie, how about you?
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, I've been in a few different teams the past years, but after coming to Redline, like the atmosphere in the team and the way we work together is just something I've never experienced before. And you like, even the testing, like, you do so much testing, but I really enjoy it because the group I'm with is putting in the same amount of effort. And yeah, it's just amazing to work with these people.
Well, guys, that hard work has paid off. You are our 2023 IMSA Esports Global Challenge GTD champions. Go and enjoy it. Go and celebrate. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It will settle in, I'm sure, at some point that Redline have won 2 races today, but are now the 2023 GTD IMSA Esports Global Champions. Let's go down, though, to Virus Coanda's number 91s, where Lewis McClay is getting ready to catch up with Charlie Collins and Julian Sonnen.
Yeah, I don't know where to start. I'll go with Julian. You did the last stint there. I mean, that you looked a little stressed coming into the car. We saw you on webcam getting ready for that final stint. That looked a little difficult. Let's put it that way. What was it from your point of view?
Yeah, it was quite stressful. Yeah, because we had run out of incidents on the first stint, so the whole race was about managing this. So that was the most stressing part of the process, let's say, because we were quite happy with pace and stuff, and with all the car behaved through the race. But yeah, that was the thing stressing us out quite a lot.
And Charlie, obviously, you know, we've had a good couple of chats this year, especially over the last few weeks, to be honest, with Sweden and all that lot. You know, getting along with the Commander team, you're moving forward. You're becoming one of their lead drivers. You're kind of showing that in a championship like this. You two have put on such a good performance. What's it been like from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. Finally, a win for me. I think it's the last time I won was like Magny Core this year at best. It's been a long time, but yeah. Oh, sorry, yeah, winning the championship, not even winning the race, but yeah, it's been really good. I think definitely a big thank you to all the work from Michael and Zach in the other GTP, because they helped so much, yeah, no, I'm very proud of everyone.
And Julian, where does this championship rank for you? Because this has got to be up there with like biggest thing you've achieved in sim racing. Oh, he's muted his microphone. It's fine. Don't worry. We're not going to talk about it.
Oh, hello.
There we go. It's fine. I'll ask you the same question again. We'll pretend nothing ever happened. This win's got to be right up there. You know, championship in sim racing, right?
Yeah, it is up there. Yeah. Especially, I'm super happy now with my new team joining Commanda a few months ago. So I'm really happy about all the work that has been done those past few months. It has been a big roller coaster of a ride because we haven't had the smoothest rounds, but at the end we just got to great performances on the last 2 rounds, and it was enough. So yeah, but it is definitely up there.
Charlie, I mean, same question for you, really. Just quickly, where does it rank in your achievements in sim racing?
No, it's definitely up there. It really is. I mean, I think it's really tough championship. Like I really can't describe like how hard it is. Like with like the GT3s and stuff like this. Oh, man, it's so hard to like not get killed. Sort of thing you saw today with a lot of championship contenders getting taken out. And yeah, the level is very high. So yeah, it definitely ranks very highly.
Well, congratulations to the pair of you, Gillian and Charlie. Of course, our GTP champions here. Incredible stuff.
Thank you guys a lot.
And so let's grab a look at the unofficial points. I say unofficial because Race Control still hasn't finished working through everything, so it may change slightly, but I think the headlines probably aren't going to shift around. Peter, VRS Coanda, 77 points clear of Urano, and winning a championship without winning a race shows A, they were consistent, B, they stayed out of trouble.
And also you see the championship leader coming into the final round finishing 7th. That is how on a knife edge that championship battle in GTP was. It was so difficult to predict. And yeah, four different winners on the year, and none of those winners are at the top of the championship. What a mixed bag we've had, and that's what makes it so exciting.
And so as we take a look as well, I think it's the GTD points. It was not necessarily as close at the front of them, but Team Redline, Mercedes, AMG, Apex Racing Team, 179 points. Doesn't tell the full story, Lewis.
No, I mean, let's be honest, the Mercedes-AMG Apex Racing Team car, they were running in a very solid position throughout the championship. Yeah, they've had 2 victories, they had a 2nd place in the other race, and it came down to just one pit stop, which clearly cost them 180 points. And all that, a big shame for the 101, our defending series champions. Well, they couldn't defend it, and it almost seemed like it was out of their control.
And unfortunately, that is sometimes the way that racing goes. But ultimately, it is another IMSA esports season in the books. And now, hopefully, not a long wait before we do it all again. A 41-day season, Lewis. Time really does fly. And we packed a lot of racing into our 4 races, but so much drama as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot of that comes from the fact that we've got the GTPs and the GTDs, and obviously all the hard work that's been done behind the scenes to get them as balanced as possible. It's been an incredible season, and yeah, again, thanks to you, Arjuna, for putting a lot of work into to bring us, of course, all those behind the scenes. It's been so much fun.
And Peter, from your perspective, you've been watching from behind the scenes. So glad to have you join us. No Greg Creamer today, unfortunately, but glad to have you stepping into the microphone spot, as it were. What did you take away from this one moving into 2024?
I think just the sheer intensity. Charlie Collins alluded to it in his interview there, just how tight this is. You know, we see these drivers battling in single make championships like the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, and that has an intensity of its own. This putting 2 classes together, battling for a championship all at once, so exciting. It's a bit like IMSA in the real world. If you've never seen it before, you'll need to tune in for the Rolex 24 in 40 days time.
That's going to be fun. 42 days from now, January the 27th, Rolex 24 live on NBC and on IMSA Radio. But the week before, don't forget, iRacing Daytona 24, the biggest sim race of the year, to close things out. Before we say goodbye, a thank you to everyone that makes this possible. David and Sasha at TFR Lab, the team at iRacing, Jake, Ryan, Blake, James, Zach, Joey, Evan, Tyler, Josh, Jay, Keenan, Tim, Taylor, Corey, Sean, Cisco, Drew, Justin, and Kevin, alongside our commentators, Greg Creamer, Lewis McLeod, Peter Mackay, and myself, Arjuna Kankipati. Race Control, Cam, Dane, Jack, and Jim, working alongside the team at VCO and iRacing, Max Rosier, Florian Hosper, Danny Elgabay, Joshua Chin, and Elliot Roberts. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you back here in Daytona on January the 27th for the Rolex 24. But for now, signing off from the IMSA Esports Global Championship, the Michelin 240 did not disappoint. It's VRS Coanda, it's Team Redline, your 2023 IMSA Esports Global Champions.